talkSPORT Sports Update, powered by the Nissan Van Range, helping business owners to work better and live better. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Here are your sports headlines. I'm Will Hobbs and welcome everybody to Jim White Day and the most rip-roaring edition of it in recent memory. The main event, of course, is the sulking, snaking, striking Swede who's in Liverpool now to complete a British record transfer of £125 million. Ali McCoy is, of course, wowed by Liverpool's window, but does have a warning based on the incredible tantrums that have been thrown this summer.
I just think it's been he's handled it really, really poor. And I'd ask you the question, Jeff. If he has 2 great years and he's signed a 5-year contract and Real Madrid come in for him, he could probably do the exact same thing, mate.
From one end of the field to the other, Gigi Donnarumma, the Champions League winning stopper, is closing in on a move to the Etihad. Ederson is moving the other way for €14 million. A deal's been agreed with Jose's former side, Fenerbahce. Here's Ben Jacobs.
PSG were asking for €50 million. My understanding is this morning that price has dropped to south of €35 million. So club-to-club talks ongoing, and there is a likelihood, I think, today that Donnarumma goes to City and Ederson moves to Fenerbahce.
Meanwhile, Manchester United are in talks with Aston Villa over a Jadon Sancho loan move. United are also speaking to Villa about Emi Martinez, but still have Royal Antwerp's Semi Lammers on their radar. They are expected to get one goalkeeper or the other. Elsewhere, United are finally getting rid of Antony, but for a £60 million loss. It's €25 million deal with Real Betis. And Mark Guiu is on his way back to Chelsea from Sunderland following Liam Delap's injury. We shall see what that means for Nicholas Jackson, whose future remains up in the air. And after a crusty stalemate was transfigured when Szoboszlai slotted an absolute sledgehammer, it still means the last time Arsenal won at Anfield was when Arteta was playing in midfield. Was he too cautious with his selection? We'll get the views of Gunners legend Manny Petit next on White and Jordan, so don't go anywhere.
talkSPORT with QuickFit. Come rain or shine, wherever and whenever suits you with our mobile tyre fitting service. Now that will have you driving away happy every time. Conditions apply.
Many working parents in England are now eligible to receive 30 hours of publicly funded childcare support, and the cost of Monjaro is more than doubling from today. Amelia's back at past.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to Jim White, Simon Jordan, and World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit. And we're live in talkSPORT. So Liverpool agree a £125 million deal for Isak. Have Newcastle done the right thing in acquiescing to his demands? Or, after holding firm all summer long, do they look weak in buckling at the very last? Meanwhile, are Arsenal really guilty of playing not to lose against their rivals? Also today, has Glasner laid down the gauntlet on Mark Gahey? Are Manchester City picking up from where they left off last season? Would Emi Martinez be the perfect tonic to Manchester United's goalkeeping issues? And Rangers and Celtic serve up a whole lot of nothing. But which of the old firm is in a worse state right now? It's Jim White, Simon Jordan and Monsieur Emmanuel Petit, and we are live on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
So while Simon Jordan and myself were lying in our silk pyjamas in the very early hours of the morning, at 5 a.m. this morning, separately in different locations. Separately, Emmanuel Petit woke up at 5 a.m, got himself together, left his palatial home in Paris, and headed to the Eurostar. Got the 7 o'clock and is with us here.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning, Emmanuel. How are you, sir?
Very good. You?
Ça va?
Ça va très bien, oui.
Très bien. Monsieur Jordan.
Very good.
Ça va? Come on. Trot out some French for me.
No, I'm fine.
Simon, good to see you. It is hotting up. Transfer deadline day. Where was transfer deadline day in your list of dates in terms of important dates or otherwise, Emmanuel? Was it a date that you always look forward to see who would do what and why?
Yeah, there is always big, transfer, done, especially the last few hours of the transfer market. So always, important sign, that some movement between clubs. Always the last few days, the last few hours. So when I was a player, it was already like that, and it's still the same. So I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah. Simon, 7 o'clock deadline tonight because of workflow patterns. It was 11 p.m, but because this is a school day and people like getting to their beds, it's 7 o'clock, myself included. So it's beginning to hot up. And Simon, we may as well start. Incidentally, now that you are no longer a club owner, I mean, you can breathe that bit easily because you've told me umpteen times he didn't like transfer deadline day, Emmanuel.
Why?
It wasn't one of his favourite days.
Sometimes you make great deals,
I don't like transfer windows. I think there are. I mean, you wouldn't have been subjected to them that many times because obviously when you were being transferred, transfer windows didn't come in until 2005, did they? Really?
Yeah.
So we didn't see so much of it from your career because you were coming to the back end. I hated it because all it is an opportunity for the media to get overexcited, for agents to get overpaid, for players to get over-rewarded.
Yeah, but
and creates a downward spiral of inflation that hasn't helped football. I think the transfer window should never have been created. I think you should be able to buy and sell players whenever you want, except post, say, March, when it can affect directly clubs trying to compromise one another by buying the teams at fourth and bottom from the table if you're getting relegated centre forward. I think that there's no reason for transfer windows. It's a restriction of trade, and all it's done is inflate the market.
Yeah, but if you don't like transfer market, how can you manage to get players?
I don't like transfer windows.
Oh, okay.
All transfer windows have done, Emmanuel, is inflate the price.
It's a deadline aspect.
I understand
you didn't
that.
like Simon. You didn't like the deadline aspect.
No, of course, absolutely.
There should be no. He Simon's of the opinion should be free trading all season long.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, I can agree with you, but I think if you want to change something, on the transfer window, I think we should stop, open the door to the transfer window when the leagues are starting,
Why?
Because I think it brings troubles, into a dressing room, into the clubs, for the managers, for the players, for the agents, for everyone. So as soon as we finish, the transfer market, the league can start,
And then be disrupted again in January.
No, I will stop the January market as well.
So you would just have one transfer open between the end of May or June until the end of August or to the beginning of the season, and then that's it.
Yeah, before the Premier League starts, it has to be end.
So if you're a football club sitting in Champions
I like that, Emmanuel. You got to get ahead of the game.
I've seen so many successful people, running big companies, outside football, making a lot of money. As soon as they come into football, they lose their mind.
There's no restriction in any other industry when you can buy and sell something.
Yeah.
In any other industry, you can buy and sell things whenever you choose. So why would you restrict a fluid industry like football that gets injuries, that gets circumstances?
Because that's what I said.
Planning. So how can you plan for injuries?
No, you cannot.
You buy a roster. You're limited by the amount of players you can have because you can't have too many of you guys.
But I mean, when you have 30 players in your team, I think you can afford, to have some players injured.
Or according to Pep Guardiola, you can't have a squad bigger than 22. Well. So make your mind.
I mean, you still play with 11 players on the pitch. So what's the point to have a squad with 30 players if you cannot afford, to face problems, that injury players, for example.
He speaks someone that's never managed.
No, I mean, I was a player, so sometimes I'm tired of hearing, president complaining all the time, and as well players,
Yeah.
Because of the money, I spent on wages and transfer market. Is it because of the market, because of the valuation of players, or the price are increasing all the time? No, because people are losing their mind. There's some clubs, especially in England, that are working very well. They are not losing their minds. It's Brighton and Brentford.
It's also created by different ownership models. That's very binary to say it's people losing their minds. But if you've got nation states in your country, you've got Qatari ownership that's bought a football club for different reasons.
Yeah.
They're not bound by the governance of, I want to build a football club because I want it to be successful. They're built by different things. So all of a sudden, that changes the market. So it's not just a case of people losing their minds. Although you are right, people do lose their minds in football.
Emmanuel, take that while you've got it. You are right. Remember when that was said?
He's right. It's
10 on a Monday morning.
Nothing's absolute, is it?
No.
No one's definitely right or definitely wrong.
Listen,
Simon, I agree with you. In France, we have to play, European competition, but without the same rules. the taxes, in France are huge, and we are so far away from what Italy, Spain, things like even in England, So the competition, you have to play the same competition, but with not the same rules.
Well, talking about Qatari ownership, PSG is under Qatari ownership, and it's being reported in France, Emmanuel's France, that Donnarumma is set to join Manchester City, or in fact, it's done. We have it from the highest authority at PSG. Hold your horses. Not done yet. But Donnarumma to City.
The rumours, in France are saying that he's signed. He's going to sign for City today.
Yeah, going to sign for City today. We know what is all but done. And of course, that is Alexander Isak, this summer-long running story, now looks to have come to some kind of a conclusion. And it is done. £125 million, a 6-year deal for Isak to go to Liverpool. The fee, of course, an increase on the first offer, the only other offer of £110 million that Liverpool submitted back in August. And of course, you know the story here, Emmanuel. Isak has all but refused to play for Newcastle since then. We'll get into that. But Simon, have Newcastle done the right thing in acquiescing to Isak's demands, if you like? Or after holding firm all summer, do they now look weak in buckling at the last moment? They say the deal is worth to them £130 million.
I don't think it's either. I think quitting whilst you're ahead is not the same as quitting. They have always perhaps been prepared to sell Isak, but not on his terms. The complete misrepresentations that the player wanted to advance, that he sat down with officials who told him he could go, irrespective of the conditionality. I don't think Newcastle have been particularly vague. They've said the player, in their preference, would stay, but would only leave on their terms. And if they've moved the needle by 15, 20 million quid, then in part, it's on their terms. They've met Liverpool in the middle. If they've taken 5 million off the player from some loyalty payment one way or another to supplement the deal and got Liverpool up by 15 million quid, then Newcastle have done their job in a slightly unpalatable situation. They've banked 130 million quid.
But having said that, Simon, we hear last week 2 senior officials were round at Isak's house saying, come on, how can we sort this?
Well, we don't know what...
So how does it look days on now?
Well, we don't know what they did and didn't say. And first and foremost, it was incredibly weak of 2 officials to rock round to his house. Because if you've got a player that works for you, he comes to you. You don't go to him. And you certainly don't go to his house. That's ridiculous. But the fact is, Newcastle didn't want to sell him for 110 million quid. Liverpool tried to buy him for 110 million quid, and they didn't get him for 110 million quid. Newcastle wanted 150 million, and they met in the middle. And
Emmanuel, you're well aware of what's been going on here. Yeah. Has this case shown that when push comes to shove, what a player wants, a player gets?
You cannot keep a player that are not happy, that wants to leave. So you have to find a solution. History shows you that always the same things. If you keep a player that doesn't want to stay at the club, that it will be a troublemaker into the dressing room.
What do you think about the way he's gone about it?
I don't like it.
Would you have ever done that?
No, personally, no. I never done that. And I can't remember, back in days, but I think that was not the same amount of money, and I think it's a crazy world now, actually, in football. So I can understand sometimes agents are controlling, players, and now they have the power inside the club, so they can do whatever they want. But I don't like it, to be honest with you. But I've been reading, so many things, from fans, killing them. I've been listening so many people, trying to convince me that they disagree, with what Isak or Wissa as well, with Brentford, is doing actually. But I just want to tell them this is exactly what's happening in football. Players are doing what they want when they want to leave the club, even if they're under contract, they don't care. But the clubs is acting the same way when they don't keep players under contracts. So this is the word, this is the rules actually. It's not pointing the finger to players.
Strike and don't pay the
I'll
player.
give you an example recently in France. And it's Mikotadze, the striker for Lyon. He left 3 days ago for Villarreal in Spain. He signed a contract for a couple of years. And he did well, since he came last season. And he was crying, he didn't want to leave the club. Look at Donnarumma, for example. Still 1 year left on his contract. He just wanted to stay at the club. And the club show him the door. So when the interest, doesn't go your ways, then some people are hating,
You say the club showed him the door, and I don't disagree with the effect that clubs can freeze people out, but they can't remove themselves from their obligations. So I can't, as a club owner, say to a player, I don't want you anymore, so I'm not going to pay you anymore. and I'm not going to deal with you anymore.
You never done that.
Well, yes, of course I've done it to players, and you're not part of the.
When you don't want to keep a player, you didn't tell him, doesn't matter your contract, I want you to leave?
No, your contract is your contract, but you haven't done what I expected you to do. The coach isn't happy with you anymore, so we don't want you anymore.
Yeah, but still have a contract.
But here's the thing:
if he wants to stay,
if you insist upon staying, I'll have to pay you, won't I? Now, as a player decides, like Isak or Wissa, well, I don't want to stay, so I'm not going to play. So whilst there is a correlation between the two falling out of one another, club falling out of player, playing out of a club can't run away from its responsibility. It can make life difficult, but players can. Players can run away from their responsibility and go, unless I get what I want, I'm going on strike.
Yeah,
and that's not equal. That's not equilibrium.
And who's that fair on? It's certainly not fair on the Newcastle fans in this instance, Emmanuel, is it? Isak said, if reports are right, and we've no reason to say that they're not, that if Newcastle wanted to hold on to him, Isak was like, no, I don't wish to be reintegrated into the squad. So forget that.
He couldn't do that. Because even if he had to stay at the club, can you imagine the motivation? It will be a troublemaker, for the manager. It will be very difficult to manage,
Yeah.
And the reaction from the fans as well. So you have to find a solution. So I can understand what you're saying, but for me, it's a business at the end of the day. So everybody is looking for his own interest.
Of course. Well,
at the end, the only person that's losing in this case are the fans.
Sure. And they're great fans, those Newcastle fans. But in his eyes, he's going to a great club, and he is a great club with great fans, and they are Liverpool fans. Newcastle, for their part, a spokesman this morning, not a spokesman, a contact of mine, was telling me the deal is worth £130 million to Newcastle. The deal has been called a £125 million deal between the two clubs. It's a 6-year deal for Isak, who pull on the shirt of Sweden this week over in Slovenia. News coming out of Newcastle regards another player. That player is Wissa, and news coming out of Brentford on the same player. It's beginning to rumble, and we're live on talkSPORT this Monday morning. Transfer deadline day. The window shuts at 7 p.m. this evening. Myself, Alex Crook, Danny Murphy will take you through the final hours of it, and we'll be live on talkSPORT all day long, breaking stories. You will not miss a thing throughout the morning, into the afternoon and into the evening itself. World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit alongside my friend and colleague Mr. Simon Jordan this morning. Ben Jacobs is live in studio. And it's really happening now, is it not? Ben, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Breaking news, and it involves Newcastle United. Sold last night Alexander Isak, whose medical is about to start. British transfer record, 125 million. And another attacker, along with Nick Voltemada, is about to come in. Johan Wissa from Brentford will join. He's in Newcastle, medical about to start. And I understand that Wissa has agreed a 4-year contract. The fee will be £55 million. Fantastic deal for Brentford. Only 1 year left on his contract, but with a 1-year option, and that informs the valuation. And this was Newcastle's 4th bid, and it has now been accepted. So 2 attackers in for Newcastle. Johan Wissa, the latest, and Alexander Isak off to Liverpool.
I mean, he released a statement, Ben, just yesterday, and Emmanuel, Simon, I'll read a small part of it. And this is where the players, it seems without any shadow of a doubt, Emmanuel, you're smiling, yeah, seemingly hold all the power right now. In a statement over the weekend, Simon, Wissa: I have stayed silent for much of the summer, but with just hours remaining of the transfer window, I feel compelled to make it clear that I want to leave Brentford. I believe the club are unduly standing in my way despite a series of fair offers throughout the summer. This is what gets in your nerves, Simon, isn't it?
Well, yes and no. I mean, one stinker goes out, one stinker comes in. Well done, Newcastle. You've got one coming in doing the same thing to Brentford that you were complaining about he's doing to you, which is what we're talking about, right? So out goes one stinker, in comes another one.
Stinker.
But the fact of the matter is who won and who lost. Brentford got £55 million for a player that's not worth 55 million quid. So whilst the player is sat there and protesting about the unfairness of how he had some fictitious gentleman's agreement, the club played their cards to the point where they got 55 million quid. Newcastle played their cards until they got Liverpool up to 125 million, got the player to take a 5 million chip on a loyalty payment. So at the end of the day, whilst it looks like the players have had their 2 pennies and had their say, the contract has still been worth something because the clubs have leveraged it into a financial return.
But they kind of have, though, Simon. This has become the summer of broken promises, Emmanuel, hasn't it?
Promises?
Yeah.
Contract doesn't mean anything anymore. I mean, you can do whatever you want with a paper, even if you sign at the end of the paper. It doesn't matter. It's only business. It's only money. So who cares?
Would you have put out a statement at any time in your career like that?
Well, I come from, a different generation. I come from different generations. So even when I went back, I came back to England when I left Barcelona. I signed a 4-year deal, with Barcelona, and after a couple of months, I knew that I was making a mistake. And but I didn't go on strike, I just had a nice and honest discussion, talks, with the clubs, and for both interests, it has to be a win-win situation, and that's why we made an agreement, and everybody was shaking their hands at the end of the
So what's
day.
the difference, Emmanuel, between your generation and this generation?
People now, they know that it doesn't matter if you sign a 7 years contract. They know that it can be in a toilet paper, within the next few weeks if the interest, change. It's simple as that.
Do you go with that, Simon? Is it a generational thing?
Yeah, well, he's a product of his times. But also, that's why he's a World Cup winner. Because there's substance about it and there's an integrity. People will make a lot about Guehi's situation.
Yeah, but football is not the same as well.
That's what I'm saying.
It changed a lot.
The finances have changed, the ownership models have changed, the landscape has changed. A contract is still worth a contract. It's about how much balls you've got to defend it. If you really wanted to dig in, if the Saudis really wanted to dig in, and say to Isak, you will do as you're told, then their contract is worth something. But they made a commercial decision. And the commercial decision is at the end of the day, Liverpool didn't get what they wanted, which was 110 million quid. Newcastle didn't get what they wanted, which was 150 million quid. They met in the middle, and the player goes off, and hopefully he gets exactly what he deserves.
What does it do to the image of Newcastle, Simon? This is a huge club with huge ambitions.
Well, Liverpool, a bigger club. If it were...
They've had the crown jewel stolen from them.
If it were Aston Villa buying it from Newcastle, it would do a lot of damage to Newcastle. If it's Newcastle competing against a legacy football club like Liverpool, the current Premier League champions, you bake it into your thinking. Newcastle got Liverpool up by 15 million quid. Now, whether we like it or we don't like it, that was the outcome. The players' behaviour, reprehensible. The union's silence, pathetic. The culture of football, not to be admired. But it is what it is. And so in the interest of a commercial outcome, which is what Emmanuel talks about, this is business. The only thing different about a contract is it doesn't cut both ways, because if the club stands down a player, they've still got to pay him. If a player stands down a club, he seems to be able to do what he wants, and that can't be something that people admire.
One thing, before I come back to Ben, Emmanuel, I've got to ask you, as a World Cup winner, you certainly know a player when you see one. Isak to Liverpool.
Well, we have seen what happened yesterday against Arsenal. Probably one of the strongest opponents, to win the Premier League this season. And still, I think they are not at the best level, from the start of the season, and they won the 3 games in a row. So, I mean, it looks like just like the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio, Catch Me If You Can. I got this feeling, yesterday I was thinking, okay, they were struggling the first half against Arsenal. They were not the best team on the pitch. But in the second half, they did anything they could, to win that game. And magic moment, But at the end, they are not at the best level, and they still won the game.
Yeah.
So with Isak, it's like the message is sent to all the opponents, they are fighting for the same prices.
And now Isak arrives in the scene. What else, Ben, have we got at 10:30 this morning?
Yeah, it's just worth noting as well on the Wissa deal.
Yeah.
Voltemada, 70 million. Last night, 120 million for Alexander Isak. Suddenly it's 55 million fee, 55 plus 70, 125 million. So I think Brentford were very strong in the negotiations in saying, if you want him, you've got to spend all of your Alexander Isak money. Other quick thing to tell you away from Newcastle United is Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa. We understand that this is going to be a loan deal. Let's wait and see if Manchester United in these talks bring Emi Martinez into the equation or move for Sene Lammens. But Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa, that move is now very close.
Okay, Ben, thank you very much. Ben will be with us throughout the morning. Jadon Sancho to Aston Villa, that is the latest. In the meantime, Isak is joining Liverpool. In the meantime, Visa is joining Newcastle. It's beginning to rumble. It's 10:30 this Monday morning.
Cricket balls are red. baseballs are white, American footballs are brown, and tennis balls are yellow. We don't even think about it really, but the story behind the tennis ball is actually quite interesting and even involves Sir David Attenborough. I know. Well, here's the tale. Tennis is widely known to be a French sport. It dates back to the 12th century when people used handmade balls, and it was then called tennis, which is the verb to hold in French. And people used some pretty wacky material to make the balls with: cork, wool, chalk, animal fur, and even human hair. A few centuries on, Germany got dead into the tennis too, but wanted to make a few modifications to the ball to make it a bit more effective. Around this time, an American chemist had just created something called vulcanized rubber. Out of that, people started developing air-filled rubber balls, which were properly bouncy, but either red or grey in colour. These were manufactured in Melton Mowbray. That's right, the home of the pork pie. One problem, the balls kept on breaking on impact with the racket. The call of "new balls please" seemingly coming over every other point. Step forward English lawyer and tennis enthusiast John Moyer Heathcote, who suggested balls be covered in flannel to stop them from degrading. And thus the modern-day tennis ball was born. But these were white or black, so how did they become yellow? Well, in 1967, the controller of BBC Two, one Sir David Attenborough, decided the corporation should show Wimbledon on colour TV. He got his wish, and it was wide into people's homes across the country. The only sticking point: the white balls were nearly impossible to see on the screen. So the International Tennis Federation, sensing an opportunity, started developing a new ball that would be visible even without the need for 4K LED displays. Not that anyone had that in the late 60s. After rigorous testing, they came up with the colour optic yellow and decided every ball be coated in that colour from there on in. And there you have it. Tennis balls are yellow, all because Sir David Attenborough wanted to watch Wimbledon from the comfort of his own front room. You could say the ITF aced it.
Monday morning, transfer deadline day. Just a quick recap so far, 10:30. Thus far, Alexander Isak to Liverpool, £125 million, offer a medical. Johan Visa to Newcastle United from Brentford. He's going to get his wish as well. £55 million. Aston Villa and Manchester United currently in talks over a loan deal for Jadon Sancho. Those are the headline stories thus far. 7 o'clock deadline. Myself, Alex Crew and Danny Murphy will take you through and past the deadline this evening. We're back on air at 6:30 live tonight. You won't miss a thing. We're live this morning, of course, on talkSPORT. Also streaming live on YouTube and your smart TV. Emmanuel Petit, French World Cup winner, sat alongside Simon and myself as we go through all the movers and shakers. And of course, Simon, as we said, we were having a brief chat in the break there, one of the dullest Old Firm games I can remember. I said no goals, no drama, no big deal. That was exactly it. Between Rangers and Celtic yesterday. Normally you expect a lot of drama, a lot of excitement, Emmanuel. Nothing to talk about there really, but we will talk about it. Incidentally, Derby Day, that really gets me. This Derby Day fixture, it's the Old Firm. That's what it was when I was growing up in Glasgow. Derby Day. You kidding me? It's a derby for sure, but it's a different sort. That is for sure too. A stunning strike from Dominic Szoboszlai saw Liverpool take all 3 points over Arsenal. We're going to get into this with Emmanuel. Arsenal, of course, one of his former clubs. Advantage Liverpool, but in the context of the race, is it impossible to land a psychological blow this early on? And there was all kind of talk that Arsenal were playing not to lose. Were they guilty of that? This was Mikel Arteta.
We didn't do a game plan to frustrate them. We did it to win it. I think we elevated the game and the dominance to a point that they have to raise it. They did, especially from the 60 to 78. When then you could see that there were no margins in the game. And then when that happens, the game is going to be decided in two ways. One, with an individual error, and two, with a magic moment. And so was like created a moment that it was incredible, that has won in the game, and that was the difference, nothing else.
Emmanuel Petit in studio with Simon and myself. Emmanuel, playing not to lose, are Arsenal guilty of that this Monday morning?
I think I liked the first half, even thinking that they didn't bring too much danger, to Alisson, the goalkeeper. And I think I was, from the start of the game, I was quite frustrated with the first 11, the team sheet. And I was thinking, what the hell? If you bring players like Eze and as well Odegaard and they're on the bench, so that means they are able to play. So what's the point? You play against probably your toughest opponent, to win the Premier League, and one of your best player, you put them on the bench at the start of the game. So I didn't understand that. So after the game, I was very frustrated with the result, of course, but with the second half, and I was quite frustrating with the lack of connection, with Gyökeres. I was very frustrated with once more time, the production from Martinelli. And the way they've been driving the ball, controlling the ball. I think this is something very good if you want to control the ball, especially in midfield. You have to put a rhythm into the game. But at the end of the day, you have to score goals. That means you have to play, up front, in open areas. Things like this, you have to bring danger, You have to play sometimes a crazy movement, You have to change the speed, the rhythm of the game. And I was asking that, so intensely, I'm sitting on my sofa at home, watching the game, and it never happened. And I was very frustrated. And at the end, they try, to put balls all the time, the last 5-10 minutes, the same way, it was predictable all the time. It was easy, to defend, from the Liverpool defenders. So there is some excuses, when you're missing, big players like Saka and Odegaard, Eze as well, that kind of guys, it has an impact, especially for Gyökeres, the link with the forwards. But for me, this is not the excuse that, it's like the tree that hides, the forest, behind it. So you have to realize that the Gunners yesterday have played against Liverpool, and they are not at the best level, and now they bring Isaac into the team, so it's gonna be much more difficult to reach them.
Yeah, and yet Arteta says, Emmanuel, we didn't play to frustrate; we played to win.
The first half, they are, but in some occasions, I was thinking to myself, that reminds me, the bad Spain national team, when they were controlling the ball, give me the ball, I pass you the ball, give me the ball, I pass you the ball, give me the ball. And at the end, what are we doing with the ball? Are we going to score goals? Are we trying to score goals? So they did try in the first half, but not enough for me. To bring the real danger, for the goalkeeper and for the Liverpool defense. And in the second half, I was very disappointing the way they were playing.
Is it on Arteta, Simon?
Well, I think so. I mean,
or is this just the modern game?
No, I think it's unfortunate for Gyökeres. I think he's a little bit of a poor man's Erling Haaland. Only comes alive in the 18-yard box. But if you don't give him any service, then he doesn't come alive. You could see that he was making runs, but running into space that others were in, right? So that ultimately they're not linked up yet. No one in the midfield has a clever pass in them. They're good players. Zubimendi is a good player and controls certain aspects of the game. And they were strong, Arsenal. In the first 25 minutes, they were physically stronger than Liverpool, and they overpowered Liverpool. And that was probably the purpose of that particular team selection. But there was no invention in it. Martinelli looks a fraction of the player. Madueke was predictable. Madueke did the same thing every single time. He never put a ball in early. He just ran the line. So the fullback knew what he was going to do in the end. So I look at it and say, whilst I take some solutions from Arsenal's play at certain times, there wasn't any ambition in the way that they played in the second half. And it's all well and good bringing on Eze when the game is 1-0 down. Go win the game. Liverpool weren't in control of this game. Go win it. And that's what I felt that was lacking in Arsenal's game, was the ambition from the manager. And that's what may cost him in the longer game, because he has no excuses. Whether you play Liverpool twice a season, you get done twice by Liverpool. There's 36 other games, and he will have to be different in other games, and they have to be more ambitious. And the thing about Arteta is I'm not sure that he has that switch to go and try and win games like Southgate didn't have at England level. I'm not comparing Southgate and Arteta, but for the purpose of combination, it's a correlation. Arsenal was strong and powerful and physically big yesterday, and some of the players on the field overpowered Liverpool. But in the second half, when they needed to have a clever pass in them, they don't have it. They didn't have it.
Simon's strong in it. You two are strong in it as well, Emmanuel. Peter Schmeichel, Manchester United legend's gone for it. Arsenal bring an ugly brand of football to our game. Arteta, let your team play football.
Yeah, I understand what he's saying, because I get bored sometimes, and I just want Arsenal to be back those days, 3 years ago when Arteta was playing beautiful football, strike football, strike to pass the ball to the forward, bring speed and great movement, at the end of the box, the last third of the pitch all the time. And that was very difficult to defend because the danger was coming from everywhere. Now it's like, as I said, it's like I give you the ball, you give me back the ball, I give you the ball. And even some players, are starting to get bored on the pitch and they don't have any solution afterwards. I was looking at Gyökeres. I totally agree with you what you were saying about Gyökeres. I was concentrating on him for at least 10 minutes during that game yesterday. And he was quite upset about the run he was making all the time. And you could see that sometimes Mourinho, even Zubimendi, they were holding the ball and they saw, the run he was making behind, in open space, and they never gave him the ball all the time. And they were always playing back the ball, always controlling the rhythm, was thinking, hey guys, at the end of the day, if you want to score goals, we have to go forward.
Right, but Emmanuel, with the right service, could Gyökeres explode on this Premier League?
He never get one since he signed. So, I mean, the goal he scored at the Emirates, he created the change for himself.
Yeah, and a lot of text coming in. Hang on, Liverpool weren't that inventive themselves. Apart from Szoboszlai's brilliant moment with the free kick, did Liverpool show you much?
No, but they won the game.
They won the game.
I mean, you can win ugly when you are not at the best level. This is what big teams, do to win titles.
What do you want to see Arsenal do in the weeks ahead?
I just want them to come back the way they were, 3 or 2 years ago, with brilliant movement, great passing, I mean, I remember, 3 years ago, it was such a great pleasure to watch Arsenal because every time they get the ball, they were putting under pressure the opponents, and they were at the edge of the box, the last third of the pitch, as I said. They were making great movement. There were probably 3, 4, 5 different options, for the players who was holding the ball all the time. It was great movement, with passion inside the box all the time.
Emmanuel, are the best title defences not built on a strong defence? Your Arsenal had a strong defence.
Yeah, but strong defence is one thing. It's good, if you want to win titles. If you want to be able as well to make differences, on set pieces, corner, things like this is what Arsenal, are performing very well. And this is good as well. But as I said, don't forget the DNA of Arsenal, which means great movement, great pressing, you have to bring craziness, at the end, the last side of the pitch. This is something that's been missing, for the last couple of months for Arsenal. And Saka was not on the pitch, so this is a big miss as well.
Yeah.
But Odegaard as well was not there, and there were no creativity, inside the team. So I'm thinking, okay, you brought some players, important players, but I don't want to see, because Mikel is Spanish, I don't want him to go step by step even further, to the like of what Enrique has done, a few years ago with the national team, in Spain, or even Guardiola sometimes when he was trying to do with City, it was quite bored to watch. And I just want them, to don't forget that if you want to win games, you have to go and kill them,
Emmanuel, in a sentence, from what you've seen so far, and now with Isak on board, is it Liverpool's title?
Well, it's too early to say that, I think. It's only 3 games, So, but we have something has to change. I mean, it's good, as I said, it's good to control the game. Look, I have an example. Luis Enrique, since he came to Paris Saint-Germain, and it's been 2 years now, it started, last January. But for at least 16 months, it was bored to watch. It was kind of boring, It was controlling the ball, controlling the rhythm. But something changed, especially against City, end of January this year. And they changed dramatically. They play straight forwards. They play quick football. And they became invincible, and they won the European competition.
Yeah.
And this is something that has to change, with Arsenal. I want them to come back what they were doing, on the pitch 2 or 3 years ago. Direct football, great movement, things like this, If you want to win titles, you have no options.
Yeah.
You have to do that.
You got to do it. You got to be direct. Arsenal fans listening to your World Cup winner this morning in Emmanuel Petit. Is it your belief that Arsenal still play not to lose? You want to be more direct, says Emmanuel. You go with that? Give us a call. 03717 223344 81089. Arsenal fans, with Emmanuel Petit here in studio. We're going to take your calls at the back of 11 o'clock. 03717 223344. You want to send a message, 81089. Where are you at with Arsenal? Is it the case that they're playing not to lose? And we may as well go for it. On Mikel Arteta, do you have faith in Mikel to win you the title or guide Arsenal to winning the title this season? They're going to have to go some with Liverpool landing Alexander Isak this very day. Would Arteta have to go if they don't take the title this season? You might want to come straight with me on that. 03717 223344. Talking about going this Monday morning, after 2 games in charge of them, former Manchester United boss Erik ten Hag has been sacked by Bayer Leverkusen in Germany. What do you know about that? Played 2, drawn 1, lost 1, but he's out of it and he's gone. German football expert Konstantin Eckner joins us live in the show. Konstantin, good morning to you. What's happened with ten Hag?
As you just said, he is out and he's gone. 2 league games, 1 cup game. He had at least one game in the cup against the 4th division side. So I don't know if that counts for anything. But over the weekend on Saturday, they played against Werder Bremen, second Bundesliga game. They were up 3-1. 1 man more because one Bremen player was sent off, a red card. And he still managed to draw 3-3. So, but that's not just it. Leverkusen's hierarchy has been quite dissatisfied by how Ten Hag handled a lot of things. They were in a training camp in Brazil. He decided that a test game against the under-20 team would be played 4 days earlier than actually scheduled. They lost 5-1 against the under-20 side. He criticized players' fitness. He took a stance against the club when he said Granit Xhaka shouldn't leave, he should stay, but then they sold Xhaka to Sunderland, stuff like that, and then they didn't win their first 2 games, and that's why they made the decision to sack him now before the international break. Yesterday it looked like Ten Hag might get another chance or 2, maybe a few more games right after the international break, but now they just move on from him. So one of the shortest stints in the Bundesliga I at least can remember.
God. Konstantin, as you probably have heard, Emmanuel Petit is alongside Simon and myself in studio here in London. Emmanuel, we've heard it all now. Two Bundesliga games, he gets a draw and he gets a defeat, and then he's now gone. I mean, Ten Hag is now gone.
Yeah, it's cruel. I think this is, as we said before, this is the world we're living in, in football especially. If you don't fill up the expectation and then you're fired straight away. So that you don't have time, to... but I think I have the feeling that if you put away the bad results, the draw when they were leading the score 3-1, I think something stronger was behind that, for the reason why he was sacked, because I can see that after only 2 games, you've been sacked. I think something has been there, on the table for weeks and weeks. And then all of a sudden, something had changed. If you had as well the bad results, I think this is something, the relationship between Ten Hag and the club, the players, things like this. I think this is something has not been right, that's why I think they sack him.
I mean, Simon, probably the club would argue, the hierarchy at Bayer Leverkusen would say, well, why not now? It was their decision. It was not going to work. So Monday, the 1st of September, we're getting rid of him.
Well, it won't be on results, will it? I mean, Emmanuel's perfectly and absolutely correct. It's very similar to the Frank de Boer situation at Crystal Palace. That was 4 games, but notwithstanding that, it's culturally, there's not a fit. Clearly, they've employed someone they think what works in a certain way. They've suddenly realised very quickly that there's not a synergy, so they're going to have to pay him a lot of money for doing very little.
So, Ten Hag sacked by Bayer Leverkusen. Konstantin Eckner is with us live. Konstantin, bring us up to date with Nicholas Jackson. At one stage, on his way from Chelsea to Bayern Munich on loan, heading out there, and now back in London. Is that what you know? What more do you know?
Yes, they actually wanted to stay in Munich, him and his agent, over the weekend, because the news came through on Saturday. So Bayern played an evening game against Augsburg, and they commented on it because a few hours before that, Liam Delap got injured, Chelsea striker, and then Chelsea made the decision, we just cancel the loan deal. Of course, none of the contracts were signed. I mean, if they would have been signed a few days earlier, of course, then Jackson now would be a Bayern Munich player, but he is not because nothing was signed. He was already in Munich for the scheduled medical. Chelsea just canceled the deal. Bayern Munich and Jackson's agent still tried to figure things out. Maybe, you can convince Chelsea going through with all of it, but it hasn't happened. And now Bayern Munich are actually looking at other strikers like Kolo Muani, whose deal to Juventus from Paris seems likely to not go through. So you see, we are on deadline day.
We are indeed. Constantine, thank you very much indeed. It's great. Emmanuel, you're shaking your head.
What a mess.
Isn't it? It's one thing after another.
Well, I mean, as I said, if things doesn't go in your interest, then you have to protect everything, and you have to kill the deal. And we are blaming, the players for their behavior, but I think our clubs as well, they have to look in the mirror because, as I said, at the end, it's only business. And if you don't fill up, what I'm expecting from you, then I disagree and I broke the deal.
Yeah. Emmanuel with us certainly till noon. While he's here, we want you to come through with your points to him, especially if you're an Arsenal fan, and many of you getting in touch. Give us a call, 03717 223344. Arsenal left Liverpool yesterday with nothing, a single 0-0 defeat. But did they play not to lose? Were Arsenal guilty of that? And do you have faith all the way through the season in Mikel Arteta? Is he the man you still feel will lead you this time around to the Premier League title? Are they up for it under Arteta? Give us a call. Emmanuel's with me, so too is Simon. 03717 223344 81089.
Winning hat-trick of performance, payload and price. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Good morning, 11 o'clock. Here is sports headlines, and what a morning of deadline day already. The box office main event, the heavyweight, if you will, Alexander Isak is completing formalities in Liverpool ahead of his record-shattering move, and his toys out the pram apprentice, Johan Wissa, has also got his dream move, and Brentford have made the Magpies pay £55 million for the 28-year-old who has just 1 year left on his Brentford contract.
One stinker goes out, one stinker comes in. Well done, Newcastle. You've got one coming in doing the same thing to Brentford that you were complaining about Isak doing to you, which is what we were talking about, right? So out goes one stinker, in comes another one.
Stinker.
But the fact of the matter is who won and who lost. Brentford got £55 million for a player that's not worth £55 million quid.
Emmanuel Petit had his own transfer dilemmas in his career, but how did he handle it?
I didn't go on strike, I just had a nice and honest discussion talks, with the clubs, and for us interest, it has to be a win-win situation. So we made an agreement, and everybody was shaking their hands at the end of the day.
He's criticised Arteta's Arsenal for not trying hard enough to score, particularly in the second half at Anfield, but it could be worse for the manager. His former opposite man, Erik ten Hag, has been sacked by Leverkusen after just 2 Bundesliga games. Incredible. One of his genius Man United signings, Anthony, is finally leaving. He's off to Betis for €25 million. On the blue side, we expect Gigi Donnarumma may well become a Man City player today, allowing Ederson to move to...
Good morning, everybody. The day has come. The day has arrived. It is Monday, the 1st of September, transfer deadline day, and it's all kicking off out there. Alexander Isak will join Liverpool today for £125 million from Newcastle United. Johan Wissa will go in the other direction. He'll go from London up to the northeast. He's leaving Brentford and is set to join Newcastle and get his wish in the end, and that is a fee of £55 million. Jadon Sancho edging ever closer to a deal that will see him join on loan with Aston Villa. Aston Villa in the news as well, though, because it seems Emi Martinez, their goalkeeper, Argentine World Cup winner, personal favourite of Emmanuel Petit in the French, he will be heading to Manchester United to take over in goal there, where there's been all sorts of problems with the personnel in that particular area of the pitch. And Man United fans will remember this fella, Erik ten Hag. He has just been sacked in the Bundesliga by Bayer Leverkusen after 2 games in charge. We're going to get to the up-to-date situation regarding Mark Gahey at Crystal Palace very shortly. Ben Jacobs is working hard. Alex Crook is working hard out there as well. And remember, I'll be back at 6:30 with Alex Crook and Danny Murphy live on talkSPORT, and we'll build up to the deadline in the half hour that will remain. 7 o'clock deadline for that. Emmanuel Petit in studio with Simon and myself this morning. It's got that feel to it, Emmanuel, hasn't it? That things are happening out there. It's beginning to rumble.
Yeah, 7 hours before the end of the transfer market. So I'm still expecting great news, it's coming soon.
Yeah. And are you expecting Donnarumma to head on out?
Yeah, definitely.
To Manchester City?
It's been on table for days and days now, and the story has finished, with Paris Saint-Germain. And I think, but there's something interesting, if he goes to Manchester City, because Luis Enrique didn't want to keep the player because he wanted a different style of goalkeeper, especially when you hold the ball, someone with the ball, technically to pass the ball and to play higher, on the pitch as a goalkeeper. And I think Pep Guardiola is kind of the same. So
interesting.
Yeah, I'm just wondering why he wants as well Donnarumma. He's a very good goalkeeper. He was a great goalkeeper last season, especially when they won the European competition. But he's got the same. Luis Enrique and Pep Guardiola, they can have the same blood,
Every Arsenal fan in the land, Simon, seemingly is lifting the phone and trying to get through to us this morning. Yourself sitting with me here in studio on the 17th floor of the news building, alongside former Arsenal huge favourite Emmanuel Petit, former Arsenal midfielder. And we're talking about Arsenal going to Anfield yesterday, losing by a single goal to nil, but maybe it's the manner in which they came and left. Is there value in playing not to lose? Were they playing not to lose? And why didn't Eze start? Why didn't Odegaard start? All sorts of questions. Not least, is Arteta the man to see you all the way through this season to this Premier League title? 03717 223344. Reese, you're a big Arsenal fan, and Emmanuel Petit, none other, is sitting in studio with us this morning. What would you like to say? Good morning.
How you doing, man? It's nice to be on there. It's nice to talk to Petit as well.
Good morning.
I don't know where to start. I feel like Arteta definitely took us as far as he can take us now. I feel like it's time for him to go. He's done good for us, but he's not there to get us through the finish line. Last year, the top teams that were coming up there, Newcastle, Crystal Palace, they've sold most of the best players. So I feel like Man City are continuing what they've done last year. I feel like it's just between us and Liverpool again. And the way it's going, we're going to finish second again, and that's not good enough.
Do you see it? Here's Emmanuel then, Reece. Do you see it that way, Emmanuel? Is he right?
Well, when I see Isaac's coming to Liverpool, as I said, Liverpool was not at the best level yesterday, and still they won the game. So with Isaac, it's gonna be much more difficult, to reach the target. And as I said, it's like catch me if you can. So something has to change with Arsenal, and they are not far, to be very competitive, to win the title. But they need to bring back, the DNA of Arsenal on the pitch. Crazy football, crazy movement. You need to go on the pitch with only one thinking: win the game. Doesn't matter if you play home or away. You have to get the same mentality, the same ambition, which means if you want to win that game, you have to put the danger up front.
So you're asking for a different approach from Arteta?
It's good to have the record, as the best defense, no problem at all. They must receive credit for that, and as well for what they've done so far, on set pieces and corner, things like this. But I remember, Arsenal winning title because of the strengths they put up front. They had great defenders, great midfield, but at the end, we were always talking the same way about Arsenal. The way they move the ball, the great passing, the great movement. Of course, we had magic moment, but it was always the brand, the DNA of the team when we were winning titles. It was always because of that.
And that was a Wenger DNA, wasn't it? What's the Arteta?
Yeah, but DNA? Arteta can do that because I was very, very enjoying, what Arteta brought,
But Emmanuel, the straight pitch. Question to you and you, Reece, is Arteta the man to steer Arsenal all the way to the title? Can he get them over the line? They've been close time and again.
This is his last chance, definitely. I mean, with all the money we spent so far, I was making the difference, with Liverpool. If Liverpool have the chance as well, because this is something else as well, to sign Gueye from Crystal Palace, which means that will be £400 million on the transfer market. Arsenal has spent more than not far from £250 million, which is a lot of money. Yeah. Did they improve the team from last season?
Reece, do you agree with Emmanuel? This is his last chance at it.
that's the thing. Do we give him another time? How long do we give him? Because the longer we give him, we're giving other teams more time to improve.
Simon, Reece is saying, Simon, it's a two-horse race already this season.
I think there's probably some merit behind that. I think it's unfair to judge Arteta in a vacuum. I think he's there to be criticised because that's what happens with big managers. But you take out into consideration, well, Liverpool are not sitting still. Liverpool have gone and improved. Arsenal have gone and fixed the problem that people felt.
Yeah,
that
but say it's unfair, Simon. You also said he's not brave.
I think in that individual game, yeah. And so the point.
So he's going to have to change,
and possibly he's going to have to change. But right now, you're asking if Arsenal and Liverpool have an absolute dogfight to the end of the season, and Liverpool win the Premier League by one point, and Arsenal have been in it all the way through. Do you think they're going to sack him? Do you think they should sack him? You look at Liverpool and say, well, Liverpool have won the Premier League. They're the Premier League champions. They've gone and improved. They've bought arguably the best centre forward in world football to improve themselves. They're bringing in one of the best centre backs in world football, in Guehi potentially. They've also improved in other areas. So it's unfair to operate in a vacuum that is Arteta the man. If the competition was not as good and had not improved, then you could just judge Arteta alone on his own merits. But Liverpool have gotten, not right now on the field, but once they get Isak in and once they get themselves together and they get their unit playing together as a cohesive unit, they will be a force, because look at the players they've got.
That's something has to change, Simon. I'm sorry to say that, because when you bring new players, you need to, of course, it takes time, to get the links between players. But I'm still wondering, because yesterday was very frustrating. If I was Jokeres, I would question myself, did I make the right move, to come to Arsenal? Because every time I run, I never get the ball. I'm quite isolated up front, and I have no links with my teammates. And yesterday I've seen so many times Mourinho, Zubimendi, looking at him. They show the run he was making in the open space. Hey, I come back and I give back the ball. I mean, how long do you think that's going to last, So I know...
But they won't set up that way for every game, though, will they? Eze has been bought for a reason. He hasn't been bought to come on the 70th minute, has he? He's been bought on...
Yeah, but he was on the bench yesterday.
That's my point is that will change. He won't be... They were set up to play against Liverpool. They won't play that against every other team they're playing against. You'll see Eze and the creativity of Odegaard.
Why he was on the bench yesterday, Simon?
Because I think that Arsenal set up in this particular game to negate Liverpool rather than...
Why Martinelli was on the first 11 on the tip sheet when everybody was saying that he's going to leave the club, and he's still at the club, and you put Eze on the bench against Liverpool, the toughest opponents in the Premier League. I'm a former player, and I'm a big fan of Arsenal, and when I looked at before the start of the game, I'm thinking, what the hell?
But would you expect Eze to come straight into a side that he's never played with, a group of players he's never played with, and be impactful from the get-go?
Well, Emmanuel, before you answer that, Dominic's a big Arsenal fan. Dominic, were you like Emmanuel Petit? When you saw the team sheet, you think, what the hell?
Morning, Jim. Morning, guys.
Good morning.
I think at the end of the day, it's very easy to overreact when Arsenal have lost 1-0 away to the champions. But the reality is that life is full of sliding door moments. And I think Arteta will look back at yesterday and say to himself, we had an opportunity to win that game. And I think his conservativeness in playing Martinelli, who is a quicker player and can get back to defend faster, and Mourinho at number 10 instead of someone like Lanreri, was a mistake. And we had an opportunity to go out and make a statement win. And I think he's going to look back on yesterday and regret that. And in the same way that we look back 3 years ago and we say if Saliba hadn't got injured, we may well have won the league instead of Man City. But the reality is that we lost the game. If we beat them 2-0 at the Emirates, then all bets are back on, aren't they? So I think we just need to calm down, because at the end of the day, it's one game. We're only 3 games into the
Here's
season.
Emmanuel, briefly. What do you want to say to that?
No, I think I did agree with that, because when you hear, what I just said on the press conference after the game, he said that they were much better than last season. He was very happy, very proud of his players. So I think if you look back at the game yesterday, I'm not sure that he would realize that he had made a mistake before.
Yeah,
the start of the game.
Yeah, Leon, take us to the break. Leon's a big Arsenal man. Emmanuel's here, so too is Simon. What do you want to say, mate?
Good morning, gents. First of all,
good morning.
I am frustrated from yesterday. I agree with a few points that Emmanuel has made there in terms of this team selection. Looking at Martinelli, I can understand why Eze may not have started. He's been there a week, but you've got Trossard there as well.
Yeah.
Martinelli offers no creativity going forward. He plays in the forward line. His responsibility should be to create chances or to score goals. He's not been doing this for ages. And I just think yesterday, for me, the first time since Arteta's been our manager, that I actually have a bit of a concern. Because I'm looking at Martinelli. Why is he ahead of Trossard and Eze when he has not offered any form of creativity? The only thing he does offer that every Arsenal fan knows, and I love him for, is his off the work ball. His work off the ball is fantastic, but that should not be the first option, I think, the first thought of when you're choosing an attacking player.
Leon, I can tell you, Emmanuel's sitting here
I
nodding.
totally agree with that.
Yeah. Totally agree. Leon, thank you for the call. Many Arsenal fans calling in 03717 22 Nicholas Jackson back at Chelsea, but is he back to stay there? We'll answer that question very shortly. Transfer deadline day. Simon's alongside me. So too is Emmanuel Petit. We're live in talkSPORT, live on YouTube and your smart TV. On a day like this, one player can be heading somewhere but then head straight back, but then maybe heads back out again. That seems to be the case with Chelsea's Nicholas Jackson. Ben Jacobs in studio. Ben, good morning. What's happening with this? You're ahead of this one.
Yeah, exclusive story on talkSPORT from about half an hour ago. Nicholas Jackson's move to Bayern is currently being resurrected. Now, the backstory here is Chelsea agree a loan with buy option, 15 million euros loan, 65 million buy option. Then Liam Delap gets a hamstring injury against Fulham and Chelsea call the deal off and they revoke the permission for the medical. Next, Chelsea negotiate with Sunderland to recall Mark Guiu, the young striker who was signed from Barcelona. That gives them striker cover. Delap could be out for 6 to 8 weeks. We're waiting on scans. So Bayern come back in now, having briefly looked at Ademola Lookman, and they are working again on getting this deal over the line. Two options, the original deal or don't rule out a permanent exit. One to watch between now and the end of the window. Jackson to Bayern. This deal is looking like it could happen.
Okay, now many Palace fans in touch with us this morning, so too Liverpool fans. Liverpool fans very much comfortable in the knowledge that they're getting Alexander Isak. That's happening, 125 million. Before you tell me the latest in Mark Guehi, Palace boss Oliver Glasner, after they won last night, of course, at Villa, he was asked, what is the situation on Guehi?
We can decide. Yeah, he's our player, he's under contract. He's not striking. He's playing fantastic. He's our captain. We can decide. So nobody forces anybody to sign a deal. Yeah, and it's up to us. So the only one who decides if Mark stays at Crystal Palace or not, and I have to say it in this clarity, is our chairman and nobody else. So we talked in March about the situation. We knew that this is the situation and it can happen. And then we said, okay, either we are prepared and have the replacement in the building. He makes the preseason with us. And then we can agree to a deal. But if the replacement is not here, we don't agree to a deal. This was our conversation. And it's all about Crystal Palace future, about this season. You know, we have such great times at the moment. This football club, maybe the most successful in his history. Yeah, and now the club has to take a decision which direction the Crystal Palace wants to go. I think this is the decision to make, and then let's see what happens tomorrow.
So that, Ben, sounds like Oliver Glasner saying, now, listen to me now, he's not going to go. He's not going to go. I hope you're listening to me. So have they listened?
Well, I think those conversations took place last night. Manager with one perspective, Steve Parish having to decide, could he leave on a free because he's not going to sign a new deal, or alternatively, do you cash in to the tune of 35 or 40 million pounds? This is an evolving situation. This morning we were told by Liverpool sources, Gay was not that likely. There was no optimism, but during the course of the day, Crystal Palace have become front runners to sign Igor on loan from Brighton and Hove Albion. Now we have to understand in the final hours of the window whether Palace's position is still sell Gay or if they're prepared to keep him and risk him leaving on a free transfer after the World Cup.
Well, Simon, Oliver Glasner sounded pretty strong there as to what he wanted. What can we add to it?
Well, what he said was absolutely right. There's no need to wait for Gay to be sold to buy him. You sold £67 million worth of Eberechi Eze. You could have bought a player with that kind of money. Gay's going to Liverpool. Gary's going to Liverpool. He'll be at
today?
Liverpool. He'll be going to Liverpool.
Of course.
Yeah, he'll be going to Liverpool.
In spite of what we just heard from Glasner.
He'll be going to Liverpool. What Glasner said and what Steve Parish made his position very, very clear earlier in the window. He said, unless the player can sign a new contract, we will be forced to sell him. And that's what they're doing. It's like establishing the Lady Astor principle, Winston Churchill. We've established what you are. All we're going to do is establish the price now. So the Palace were trying to get the best price they can. If they've managed to get to the 35, 40 million quid that they wanted for Gay, he's going to Liverpool.
So you're saying no matter what, he's going to Liverpool today?
To Liverpool.
And we know that for a fact. Emmanuel Petit, French World Cup winner, has just shaken his head and put
gives me headache.
What's your take on this?
Gay to Liverpool? My God. With Isaac, with Wirtz, and
Ekitike.
Oh my God!
What's done?
It was very quiet for Liverpool on transfer market last season, but they sold many players, and they have to change something, and they spend so much money, 400 millions. That's going to be around 400 millions, right?
Yeah, but they've also got a lot of money coming in.
Yeah.
And without wanting to be overly cynical, they probably had a rather large insurance payout for the tragedy.
So it's going to be much more difficult, to compete, with them, for the Premier League, but as well, I think that it will be very strong as well on the Champions League too. So they look very strong in every department.
Yeah, of course. But Ben brings us the latest. I'm just somewhat confused. We hear Glasner less than 12 hours ago telling us, now listen to me now. That's
not what he did.
I want to hold on. We want to hold on to this play. You're telling us
that's not what he did.
Mark Gahey will go to Liverpool today.
That's not what he did.
Have you got intel on this?
What he talked about was what he wanted to have happened, what he told his chairman. Clearly and definitively, there's going to be a breakdown between Glasner and Palace sooner rather than later. Because I think it's pretty clear that a year ago, Glasner expected to be supported and he wasn't, and he took it on the chin. This summer, he really expected to be supported, really, and that's before they sold Eberechi Eze. That's before they sold players. So the fact he's had his best player sold to Arsenal and is now going to get his captain sold and has had very little spent is not going to augur well to the relationship. He's got a year left in his contract. He's a very, very good manager. So I would suspect this is going to produce some problems. Taking a bloody centre-back on loan from Brighton is not the solution to selling one of the best centre-backs in the world.
Can I throw something at you, Simon? Oliver Glasner is a very good manager, and he knows the Bundesliga upside down and inside out. Erik ten Hag has just been sacked by Bayer Leverkusen.
Well, my understanding of Oliver Glasner is he loves London. I think his daughter goes to university in London, wants to be in London, but his stock is high, and there is a demand for him. And so whether he is so disenchanted and disenfranchised by the circumstances he finds himself in a situation where Palace have had unprecedented success under him. They've punched very hard in the league after the very poor start. They've won the FA Cup. They've won the Community Shield. They're playing in Europe. His reward is to have a depleted squad. I'm normally all for the club saying, well, hang on a second, this is a Faustian pact. You accept what you've got.
Palace gave him an opportunity in the Premier League, Simon.
And he took it and he repaid it. You can't turn around to a guy that's been here for 2 years. You've given him very little support economically. You've sold his best players, whether it be Elise or whether it be Eberechi Eze and other players that have gone, and now Gahey, and then say to him, you've won the FA Cup for us, you've got us into the European competition, and your reward for that is to have less. Yeah. It can't be, can it? It just can't be by any standard.
You must have known what he was walking into, Simon, at Crystal Palace. This is what Palace do.
Well, it isn't really what they do, but it's what the situation has now dictated.
Because they've not done this for the last few seasons.
Well, they've never won an FA Cup. They've never had a guy come in and...
But would have done that if you are still the president over there?
No, I wouldn't have done. No, but then again, I'm not Steve Parish, so the difference is a difference. But
you're convinced, more than convinced, you're absolutely certain that Gahey will go to Liverpool today.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure too, yeah.
And Emmanuel's sure. And Ben, you're bringing us the news every moment of every hour. As we head towards 11:30, it would appear, and I'm hearing that Alexander Isak has just pitched up at Liverpool's training ground.
Yeah, the medical is underway for Alexander Isak. Just a formality, 6-year deal agreed, 125 million fixed fees, so no add-ons. And then from Newcastle's perspective, due to a solidarity payment, that deal is worth £130 million to them. Think it suits all parties, and as we said before, Johan Wissa about to start his medical as well. 50 million up front, 5 million in add-ons, 55 million package. Nick Voltemada, 70 million. So and the Jadon Alexander Sancho. Isak money is all spent.
Jadon Sancho on the move.
Jadon Sancho as well is on the move. The loan to Aston Villa nearly finalised. What we understand here is that it is a temporary switch, and there's 80% wage coverage paid by Aston Villa, and there may be a buy option as there was with Marcus Rashford as well, so that one is also expected to be done by deadline. And a reminder, deadline is 7 p.m. earlier, so time is running out.
Time is running out. Where have I heard that before? It's 11:30.
have a warning, though, based on the incredible tantrums that have been thrown all summer.
I just think it's been really, he's handled it really, really poor. And I'd ask you the question, Jeff, if he has 2 great years and he's signed a 5-year contract and Real Madrid come in for him, he could probably do the exact same thing, mate.
Plus, with Donnarumma expected to become a Man City player today, a penny for the thoughts of James Trafford. Stuart Pearce has this advice for the 22-year-old.
If I was advising him, I would say, look, at the age you are at the moment, see this as a positive if Donnarumma comes in. You've got competition, so you've got to up your game, and also you've got 2 great role models that have been around the block to learn from.
To Anfield now, where a game that threatened to be a stalemate was transfigured when Szoboszlai slotted home an absolute rocket. For Arsenal, no win at Anfield since Arteta himself was in the midfield. And Alan Pardew says he expected more from Victor Gyökeres.
There was times he had the march and didn't get past the centre backs, and it's a concern, I think, whether this kid is going to have to step up and be this number 9 that Arsenal have been waiting for 3 years.
As always, all your latest is at talksport.com.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get ready for the golden era of sports betting. Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18+gambleaware.org.
It's that time. Matt Gibson from BetMGM joins Simon, myself and Emmanuel Petit. We're going to look at some of the odds in and around the game at this moment. And Matt, obviously on transfer deadline day, Liverpool top of the Premier League table. Isak, they're getting him over the line. He's at the training ground at the moment. What are you thinking? Good morning.
Morning, fellas. Yeah, it's the best team in the country last year. Seemed to be spending close to 450 million quid, which for the little teams like us doesn't seem that fair. But I think that one will happen. Most likely Mark Gay as well. I think Palace have signed another defender, so Mark Gay could be on the way as well. But Liverpool 6-5 to win the league. Obviously, Szoboszlai's free kick was superb and the difference maker in the Arsenal game yesterday. Arsenal slightly out to 15-8. Both Liverpool and Arsenal were 7-4 at this time last week to win the Premier League. And City a big drift to 7-1. Again, I don't think since I've been talking to you guys, Manchester City have ever been as big as 7-1 to win the Premier League in September. I watched the game yesterday, lads, and I know it was a superb free kick, which was the difference maker. But I just wonder, were Arsenal were they a bit safe? Named a midfield of Rice, Marino, Zubamendi. In my mind, they're all.
Well, I mean, Emmanuel's been making that very point, haven't you, Emmanuel?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Lack of creativity, and keep the ball, the rhythm, controlling the game, but always giving the ball, give me back the ball, give me the ball, give me back the ball. I know that's very important, but at the end of the day, you have to change the movement and the result of the game.
Yeah. Matt mentioned it there, Emmanuel. Manchester City played 3, won 1, lost 2. What are you thinking at the moment? We didn't expect this, did we?
I think from last season, something has been broken, in City, and I've seen as well the body language from Pep on the bench so many times, and this season as well against Brighton, I've seen him, scratching his head again, looking for ideas. Something has been lost, Yeah, I think it's probably too soon to say that, but I think I've seen some body language as well on the pitch that's not telling me that it's going to be better within the next few weeks. So that's why I think something has changed.
Broken.
Something has changed very strongly, you know, into this team. And doesn't matter how much money you spend. I think they brought some players who are interesting, but not at the same level that it used to be at Manchester City. So I'm quite worried. They will be, you know, on the top 4, probably, or top 5, fighting for European competition. But it's the most difficult thing that I can understand is how Pep has changed as well. I think it's not the same man. It's not the same manager. I think something has been broken inside of him.
Wow. Matt Gibson, I have to tell you, Emmanuel, is a Leeds United supporter. Matt, throw to Simon and myself, and Emmanuel, what do you think of Leeds start?
Yeah, Leeds United supporter and long-term sufferer is normally what we go by. But I think the start to the Premier League season, gents. I think 4 points going into the international break. When you look at Wolves, who are pointless, and Villa, who haven't scored a goal, you look at our opening fixture. I think 4 points is about as good as we could have got. Obviously, Arsenal wasn't. I watched that one from mainly behind my sofa, but we were never going to get any points there. I think a point against Newcastle at home and 3 points against Everton, both of which those teams will be on upward curves. The less said about the Carabao Cup episode, the better, obviously. But in the Premier League, I think 4 points going into this, and hopefully maybe a little bit of business today. I don't think it's a bad return at all from the first 3.
And what about the start Sunderland have made?
Yeah, I mean, I work quite closely with a Sunderland fan. He's getting very excited, bless him. But you know, they've played teams that they should be and want to be beaten. I think they beat West Ham at home and Brentford at home and lost to Burnley away. The calibre of team they've played is probably not as good as Arsenal and Everton and Newcastle, but you can only beat what's in front of you. And to be fair, they've done what they needed to do. So they've strengthened in all the right areas. So we'll see how good they are when they have to go to places like the Emirates, but. Solid start for Sunderland, definitely.
I mean, Sunderland, Emmanuel, you'll know Regis Lebris in charge of them. What do you know about him? Is he capable of providing some kind of a shot for Sunderland fans?
Yeah, he did.
Of the good variety?
Since he came to the club, I think they get promoted, you know, and they were probably... it was probably the best start of the history, you know, after a couple of weeks last season. So... he did a very good job the first season with Lorient in France, and he was about to move, you know, at the end of the first season. Then he was staying at the club against his will. And this season, Lorient was relegated, and things turned differently, and it was a big turning point. And since he came last season to England, I think he did a great job, and you have to understand as well the relationship inside the club, because there is a French spy, you know, from the top of the club, you know, onto the dressing room. So it looks like a French revolution actually in Sunderland.
French spy? Who is Le Spy?
The spine.
Oh, spine! I thought we were spy. I was thinking some character with a hat and a monocle on. The spies in the back corridors. When they come back, Palace take on Sunderland at Palace's place. Sunderland, I know it's early doors, Simon, but they're presenting a very...
Well, the fixtures have been very kind to them. Let's get some context. All the promoted sides...
They're just up, though.
All the promoted sides, yeah, but you're talking about fixture comparison that will happen in previous years. They've played a terrible West Ham in the first game of the season. They got beat by Burnley, who are a rival side coming up with them, and they've beaten Brentford, who are a little bit out of sorts with a new manager in play. So the fixtures have been kind for them. Leeds will bite your arm off for 4 points out of the first 3 games. And Burnley have been quite unlucky. They got done by a last-minute penalty, otherwise they had 4 points. So the fact of the matter is, the Premier League, with the 3 promoted sides, is a better place for them getting points on the board early doors, so we don't have the usual debacle of the promoted sides being cannon fodder.
Yeah. All right. Early days for Sunderland. Luke Donald, meantime, Matt, set to announce his European Ryder Cup captain picks today, right?
Yeah, it's a big day for Team Europe. We obviously know the 6 who are already booked the flights to New York: McIlroy, McIntyre, Fleetwood, Rose, Rasmus Højgaard, and Tyrrell Hatton. We think it'll be very similar to what it was in Rome the last time. Lowry, Hovland, Aberg, Rahm, Fitzpatrick, Straka. It actually means that the team sheet will read the same because Nicola Højgaard out, Rasmus Højgaard in. So we think it'll be a very similar team to what was in Rome a few years ago. Matt Wallace, I think, has just missed out. You'll probably seen his press conference at the European Tour over the weekend. He's just missed out. But we think it'll be roughly the same side that will take on the guys in New York. We'll get closer to the markets when we know the sides. But a big day for Team Europe, definitely.
Matt, thank you very much indeed. Visit betmgm.co.uk. Download the app. 18+. BeGambleAware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Get things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
I thought Emmanuel was giving me an exclusive that there was a French spy in the corridors of Sunderland. That was a great moment. Emmanuel, interesting though, Jack Grealish made a very strong start to this loan spell at Everton. You've been impressed?
Yeah, I'm happy that he's happy on the pitch.
Yeah. So he's happy. It remains to be seen whether or not Alejandro Garnacho becomes that bit happier with his £40 million move to Chelsea. Jadon Sancho, it appears, is heading out on loan to Aston Villa. In fact, in the last few moments, Villa have agreed a deal to sign him on loan. What does it tell us? I mean, these three players, are players only as good as the environment that's provided for them?
Sometimes, yeah. Most of the time, you have players that they are impacted with the environment, and if things doesn't go on the right way, and you have a bad environment, and then emotionally, it can have an impact on them. You have to get strong players, the personality have to be strong. When you buy a new players, when you bring a new players into the dressing room, you have to buy qualities, as a player, but as well as a human being, which means you have to make sure that those guys are strong, enough mentally, to reach the target and expectations. This is something that's been missing at Manchester United, for example, for years. And when I see some players, desperate to leave Manchester United, Anthony was one of them, but there is so many players that are desperate, to want to leave the club because they don't feel it. They don't feel the right environment. But when I look at the name, when I look at the transfer fee, when I look at the wages, I'm sorry to say that. Sometimes you cannot hide longer behind your fingers. You have to take your own responsibility. You decided to join Manchester United, so Garnacho is leaving to Chelsea. I wish him good luck. But is he going to be the next players that join Chelsea and after a couple of months it doesn't reach expectations? So environment is something very important. But at the end of the day, it's only about you. You have to decide or not to change your life on the pitch, which means take your responsibility. I'm so tired sometimes to hear the players complaining or trying to put pressure on the manager all the time because it's easy for them, to find this kind of solution. Just take your responsibility. You want to play for big clubs, so be a big boy.
That's music to your ears, Simon, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
Music to your ears.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It's Jim White and Simon Jordan with Emmanuel Petit. We're live on talkSPORT on transfer deadline day with Selco. It's where the trade goes. Being reported that United in talks in terms of signing 2 goalkeepers. One of them, Lammens from Royal Antwerp. Not so up on him, but I'm certainly up on the other one. Aston Villa's Argentinian World Cup winning goalkeeper, Emi Martinez. I could just tell everybody, Simon and I were sitting in the last commercial break, when I mentioned the name Emiliano Martinez, our French World Cup winning guest, Emmanuel Petit, made it quite clear to us that he doesn't think much of Emi Martinez as an individual, as a man. Well, why? You French hate him, don't you?
I hate him, but in the meantime, I love him. It's strange, these guys, because I think he's a great goalkeeper. I think if he goes to Manchester United, that's gonna be something very different in the dressing room, but as well on the pitch. He's gonna shake every single players. His mentality, his winning mentality. I think this is something that's been missing. His personality, his character as well. These guys, he's gonna shake everybody. But I hate him. Why? Because since they won the World Cup in 2022 with Argentina, he always make fun of us, French people. He was always mocking, the national team, the country, things like this. So, because I'm working as well on radio and TVs as well in France, and I was over emotional. When I was talking about him, I said bad things on the radio. I assume it. I don't care about that. But in the meantime, I can understand he's a great goalkeeper, and it would be great, for Manchester United to get him. But I hate him.
But we get that impression that you're not a fan of Emi the man. Here's the thing, though, Simon. I reckon Emmanuel is spot on. You stick Martinez in that dressing room, boy, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Be interesting. I mean, I'm in exactly the same place as Emmanuel about this goal. I think he's a very good goalkeeper. I think he's a very strong personality. Whether he'll get sucked down to the level that's at United is a different discussion, because he's playing. There are big players in that dressing room as well. Maguire's no shrinking violet. Neither is Martinez a shrinking violet, Lissandro Martinez. But these players have dropped their levels. But I think he's a proper goalkeeper. I think he's damn sight better than what they've got. And so with that in mind, you want goalkeepers to have personalities. You want goalkeepers to be strong. He is a strong personality. His behaviour in the World Cup and all that sort of stuff and the way he operates, I don't like either. But if we separate the man behaviour from the performing footballer, he will be a good signing for Man United. He'll be a good goalkeeper. I'd be surprised. But then saying that, Man United are so all over the place right now that he could get sucked down to the level that they're at.
They're really missing players like that, in Manchester United dressing room, on the pitch as well. Someone that can handle the pressure, that can put provocation, to the opponent, that can make stick, to his own teammates sometimes. Someone that can bring passion, that can be fierce and proud, but in the meantime provoking,
Keen to get your ideas on where you think, Emmanuel, Ruben Amorim is at this moment.
Whoa.
I'll tell you what he is.
Depression.
He's heading out in an international break, no doubt get his head back into some kind of sane state. Before the game at the weekend, a game they ended up winning against Burnley, of course, there was a suggestion that he might walk away. So might he?
Sometimes I want to quit. Sometimes I want to be here for 20 years. Sometimes I love to be with my players. Sometimes I don't want to be with him. So, again, I need to improve on that. You have a lot of experienced people talking about the way I should perform with the media, to be more constant, to be more calm. I'm not going to be like that. So I'm trying to accept that, and I'm going to be who I am. And that's why I have the passion that I have. And in that moment, I was really upset and really disappointed, because I felt that we had a very good preseason. We were playing better. We were being consistent in the way we played. We played badly 30 minutes against Fulham. And then that kind of performance, I was really disappointed with everything. But now it's a new game.
So we heard it there, Emmanuel. I'm not going to change. Is he right to be saying that?
First of all, I really appreciate his honesty. I think this is something very hard to handle, especially when you're a manager and when you manage big clubs like Manchester United. And but I have a feeling as well, in the meantime, that this guy needs help. He needs psycho, you know. So I think he's in depression. He said something good, and then he said something bad. He said something good. I'm happy, but I'm not happy. I want to be with my player, but I want to kill them. I mean, he needs help, and I feel pity for him sometimes because he tried to do his best, and his body language, his press conference. As again, I appreciate his honesty, but this guy, I think, I have the feeling that he's alone, you know, by himself, and no one's helping. And
are you serious about this? He needs a therapy session.
I mean, this guy is in depression. This is why. I mean, honestly,
there's another one. He's sitting right beside you.
When they've been out, you know, from the
you probably deny
the cup, you know, and they've been out from the cup last week, and I've been looking at the game and what he was doing with the dashboard, you know, on the bench, and I was feeling, what is he doing, you know, and with the penalty kick as well, he was not looking at it, and he was hiding. He was, I mean.
But he's an emotional guy. He's just admitted it.
Yeah, I totally appreciate that. This is why I'm thinking this guy, I'm pretty sure he's a very good guy. He's still a very good manager, but he's living a nightmare, just like others. You know, I've been living nightmares on the bench, you know, at Manchester United. So
does he last there this season? Will he see the season out?
Honestly, I don't see him staying at Manchester United. I think the international break will decide or not if he stays or not.
Really? That's
my opinion.
What's your take on that, Simon?
I think he talks too much. There's nothing wrong with emotion. Everyone can be emotional. It's an emotional game. The whole lifeblood of football is about emotion. But when you give information that's unnecessary, when you say things that you have to account for and you have to keep on rowing back from, when you tell people that you're too young as a manager and that you're naive, this is not the qualities of a Manchester United manager that needs to lead them out of the wilderness. It's great to be emotional. He's getting a pass on a lot of things because people perceive that the haphazard way he approaches the media and talking about things is some form of transparency and honesty, and they admire it. Win some football matches. Get some more from these players. You do not have players that are not capable. You haven't got a bunch of slobs in the dressing room. You bought a lot of players. You spent a lot of money. They're perfectly capable of beating opposition like Grimsby Town and beating opposition like Burnley without having to do it, with beads of sweat rolling down their neck.
Yeah.
Because the fact of the matter is he's been there for 9-10 months. I'm not advocating for him to be fired. He wanted this job. He ran around photobombing every single football club in England that he could possibly get a job from to be able to get a job in English football. He's now got one. He's got the biggest job in English football. Get on with it and start winning some games.
Well,
Stop telling people about what you feel, how wonderful you feel about this.
Sometimes, as a player, you know, you receive the messages, you know, from your manager, especially in a press conference, and you need someone who can show you strong character and personality.
I mean,
in the last few moments.
What did he mean last week?
I agree.
When he turned around and said, my players have spoken very loudly. Well, tell us what you mean then, because everyone's filling the gap. If you're so transparent and so open, tell us what you meant.
He's an emotional guy, though, Simon. He is, and he declares it.
Did you think Ferguson wasn't emotional then? Ferguson was emotional. It was just fury. And it was controlled steel that went into players' minds and into the media. Banned the media, didn't like this person, didn't muck about. Different kind of emotion.
Mourinho as well. He's an emotional guy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's not hold our breaths about Emi Martinez joining Manchester now, because we're hearing the last few moments. It would appear if there's a choice between Martinez and Lamens, the young goalkeeper from Royal Antwerp, it would appear they're going in the direction of Sene Lamens, because Lamens, we're hearing, is travelling to Manchester. Considered other options.
What for?
They have the highest respect for Lamens, and it would appear that this is on 21 million euros, no sell on 5-year contract.
I don't know. I disagree. You know,
I do
that
too.
would be one more goalkeeper, you know, in the dressing room. They need to get personality and character.
And
They're
Martinez would
missing
be that.
confidence.
Yeah.
They're missing leaders in the dressing room for years.
Yeah.
And that could be something so important. So I don't get it, honestly. Can I be the sport director at Manchester United and then they're going to spare money, you know, with me?
Of course. Let's put you in for that job. Emmanuel, what we do know is we've come to the end of the line with you this lunchtime. 12 noon departure for Emmanuel Petit, who heads back now to the Eurostar. Merci bien.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci bien, Emmanuel. Wonderful. Would you like to throw a bit of French at Emmanuel or just say...
No, I'm fine.
No, he's fine. I'm fine. Simon Jordan is fine, and I know that. Every morning from 10 to 1, live in talkSPORT with Selco, where the trade goes. Merci bien,
Merci
Monsieur
beaucoup.
Petit. 12 noon.
That go the distance for your business. Search Nissan Vans or head to your local Nissan Van Centre.
Well, it's been the most exhilarating transfer window, perhaps of all time, but also the most petulant, childish and tantrum-filled one, and both of the main villainous protagonists have got their moves in the end. At Liverpool's training ground, Isak is having his medical as we speak for a British record fee, whilst Brentford have yielded £55 million for the sale of the Instagram stropper Johan Wissa.
The union silence, pathetic. The culture of football, not to be admired. But it is what it is. The only thing different about a contract is it doesn't cut both ways. Because if the club stands down a player, they've still got to pay him. If a player stands down a club, he seems to be able to do what he wants. And that can't be something that people admire.
Times have changed since my day, says Manny Petit, who says going on strike would never have crossed his mind during his playing days. On the field, the Arsenal Invincible has also bemoaned the Gunners' lack of daring and ambition after they were pipped at Anfield by Szoboszlai's sledgehammer.
They did try in the first half, but not enough for me to bring the real danger, for the goalkeeper and for the Liverpool defense. And in the second half, I was very disappointing the way they were playing.
Back to transfers. Here we go. Aston Villa have agreed to take Jadon Sancho on loan and pay 80% of his wages. That's a lot of money. We expect Donnarumma to replace Ederson at Manchester City. The Brazilian's move to Fenerbahce has been agreed, and Antwerp's Seny Lammers flying into Manchester to complete a Manchester United move. So Emi Martinez, his deal is no longer. Elsewhere, not for the first time, Erik ten Hag has followed the example of Mourinho and Gunnar Solskjaer. He's been sacked by Leverkusen, but only after 2 league games in charge. And then there's Nicholas Jackson. He thought he was heading to Bayern on Saturday. Then the deal was off after the lapsed hamstring went ping. But now, is it back on? Ben Jacobs, of course, is the man to ask.
Chelsea negotiate with Sunderland to recall Mark Guiu, the young striker who was signed from Barcelona. That gives them striker cover. Delap could be out for 6 to 8 weeks. We're waiting on scans. Jackson to Bayern. This deal is looking like it could happen.
And if you want to stay up to date, stay tuned to talkSPORT and stay glued to the live blog on talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
More than 800 people are reported to have died in an earthquake in Afghanistan, and the Home Secretary is going to set out plans to tighten rules around migrants bringing their families to the UK. There's more news at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. With a huge range of premium brands available, we've got what you need to drive away happy every time. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
An afternoon of sunny spells and showers, a mixture. Some of the showers will be heavy with risk of hail and thunder, particularly in the west, feeling cooler than yesterday.
Good afternoon, everybody. It is transfer deadline day. It is September the 1st. It's Jim White and it's Simon Jordan. Our thanks to French World Cup winner Emmanuel Petit, who now heads back to the Eurostar and heads back to Paris, but thanking him for the previous 2 hours that he has given us. We like Emmanuel, do we not, Simon?
We do. I always, whenever I'm on with a Frenchman, it always reminds me of those Apple teaser adverts. Remember when they go, and it's jolly bad luck on the French.
Fair enough, but I tell you what, again, falls into the category, says what he means and means what he says.
Oh, he certainly does that, yeah. And
yeah.
And it's something to be around when people, you ask someone a question, you get an answer.
Exactly.
I'm sure that he will offend certain people by saying certain things, but he doesn't care because he's got something to say and he backs it up, and that's great.
That's right. I don't think Alexander Isak cared all that much if he was offending Newcastle fans in the past few weeks, because he has got his way. A £125 million move for him from the northeast to Liverpool. He's pitched up at the training ground, and that seems a matter of time before he is formally announced at Liverpool. What a squad Arne Slot has got there, and that is the big signing of the window, no doubt. Alexander Isak. Manchester United, it's being reported, have agreed a deal now for the goalkeeper Seny Lamens, so it doesn't look like Emiliano Martinez, Argentine World Cup winner from Aston Villa, is going to be joining up at Manchester United. Strange one that, Simon, because we thought with his personality that he would be the man just to shake it up inside Old Trafford.
And maybe a younger goalkeeper that has some inherent value is part of the thinking process behind Man United buying a player that might have an economic return. How's that worked out for them on recent transactions? I would have thought that personality and charisma and leadership was as much a call card now for United as it is about whether they buy the right player for the right money at the right time.
Yeah. Brentford's Johan Wissa heading from London up to the northeast to be joining Newcastle in a £55 million deal. If we go further north in Newcastle, let's head to Glasgow, because yesterday these two, Rangers and Celtic, served up a very dull, boring 0-0 draw at Ibrox. We're going to hear from top journalist Bill Leckie in a second on that one, but not much to say about that particular fixture. It wasn't representative of the blood and thunder that we know the Old Firm can produce. In a moment, Brendan Rodgers. This is Russell Martin.
I'm really proud of a lot of the stuff I saw with the fight, the togetherness, the spirit in the team, the aggression, the desire, all of that stuff that I think we got questioned on midweek outside, and also questioned ourselves on inside the building. So that was a big focus for us, to make sure we put in a performance that showed the guys are together. They want to win, they want to run, they want to fight, and they were brilliant in that sense. I'm disappointed not to win the game. I think the players are as well, but I'm really proud of a lot of the aspects of the performance.
I thought it was a poor game, if I'm being brutally honest. Positive for us being we haven't given away much over the course of pre-season, and today I don't think we had a shot against us on target. So defensively we've been good and solid and lots of endeavour, which is great. But the actual, in terms of our quality in the game, and was it's not at the level I'd expect a Celtic team to be. So that was a disappointment. But I felt overall the quality of the game wasn't at a high enough level.
And he wasn't wrong in that. Celtic joint top on 10 points with Hearts. Rangers 7th, played 4, drawn 4. They've got a lot to do. Bill Leckie joins us live. Bill, good afternoon to you. Did we come out of it with more questions than answers?
I think we came out of it with forks poked into our eyes, Jim. It was horrendous football. It was an embarrassment of a game of football. Rangers were clapped off simply because they didn't get battered the way they've been getting. They got battered during the week in Bruges. Celtic were so slow, so sluggish. They made something like 508 passes. I reckon more than half of them went back the way. And Celtic have gone back the way dramatically since they were the team who bowed out of the Champions League in February, playing so brilliantly and so bravely in Munich against Bayern. They were just awful. And Brendan Rodgers, he points the finger at the board all the time for not making signings, but he has to get more out of those players because those are good players.
What do you think of that, Sam? Bill's interpretation of Brendan poking his finger at the board for not making more signings?
Well, you know, I agree with it because that's what I said last week. I mean, I did. I decided to watch the game. I thought it was absolutely tepid. I thought it was as poor a game as I've seen for some time between two supposed decent sides. I felt there was not anything in it that was worth actually watching. So to the point I turned off after 55 minutes. I was that bored. I mean, maybe if the John Souttar goal had scored, it might have changed the direction of travel, but it didn't. Right. So the fact of the matter, it was poor. And Brendan does do this, and he may well need it. He may well have a case, and Bill, I'm sure, would assume there is a case for Brendan to argue that he needed to supplement and that Celtic could have done better. But that doesn't explain the poor performances and doesn't justify the poor performances against the Kazakhstani side, and also in this game against Rangers. So, yeah, I agree emphatically with Bill.
I mean, Bill, it's actually a fairly hopeless question in many ways to ask, but I'll ask you, which of the old firm is in the worst state at this particular time?
Which is in the worst state? Rangers, without a doubt. I mean, Celtic are still up there, joint top of the league. They still haven't lost a game. Rangers still haven't won a game. I think Celtic are a team who have had very high standards, and the standards have fallen in the last few months for various reasons, some of which are obvious, some of which are a bit mysterious. Rangers are a club who just, as they say themselves, they keep rinsing and repeating. They keep getting rid of managers, bringing in managers, turning over players, and nothing seems to change. So I would say that Celtic are certainly the one of the two of them who are in a better position to bounce back to where they were before. Whereas Rangers are trying to find out what it is they are and where they want to be.
I heard this morning there were a few flags raised in amongst the Rangers supporters. Martin and co must go. I mean, does this result do anything for him?
It was very interesting, Jim, because at the end of the game, the Rangers players went round, did a kind of fairly desultory lap of honour, but got a fairly good round of applause from the fans. Russell Martin waited at the side of the park to shake hands with each player as they came off, and the applause went. When the last player went down the tunnel, Russell Martin turned to follow them, and there was a huge round of boos from all around the Rangers fans. So they made it quite clear. And I don't know, Simon knows these reactions from the inside of a football club. I have never seen from the outside a manager who has had less support from the supporters from day one as Russell Martin has. They are just not having him. There was a banner went up and it did say Martin and co must go, and it wasn't like scribbled in felt pen on a bed sheet. Somebody had gone out and got it printed up properly and really neatly in advance, which tells you just, so even if they had won 4-0 yesterday, they still were showing this banner that he's probably paid 60 quid for or something. Martin and co must go. They're just not having him, and it's a really difficult situation because he says he has the support of the owners, of the board, and Andrew Kavanagh, the main man, was at Ibrox to speak to the players on Friday and apparently gave a very rousing speech about where the club's going, etc. So Russell Martin sounds to the outside world as if he's in absolutely no danger, and yet on the other side the fans just are not having him one little bit. It's a really weird situation.
Can you second guess it for us going forward, Bill? How will this end in terms of Russell Martin?
I mean, I would have thought 6-0 in Bruges was, for most managers, was pretty unsurvivable. There's Erik ten Hag, 2 games in the league in Leverkusen, and he's gone. We see this all the time, managers under pressure. This is a really odd situation where it seems from the outside that this isn't working, and the guy's getting it completely wrong. Now, he's got great theories about football, but in practice they're not working. And yet, on the other side, the people who have come in for the long haul seem to say, no, we're fine. It's a project. It'll happen. Let's get people in the door and see what happens next. I would love to see where they are in January when the window opens again, because he's obviously going to get through this one. But, wow, unless Rangers are going to improve dramatically, really dramatically. And so far, I mean, for instance, against Bruce, Jim, he played 8 guys who he had signed in the summer, and by half-time 5 of them had gone, 1 sent off, 1 sacrificed because of the sending off, another 3 substituted at half-time. That wasn't a rousing sort of approval of his own signings.
Sure,
so I just don't know where they're going. I don't know where they're going, Jim.
Okay, Bill Leckie, thank you very much indeed. I'll get back to Simon on that briefly the other side of this break. We're at 12:15 this Monday lunchtime. Transfer deadline day. Emmanuel Petit has come and gone, but we crack on because so much activity is taking place out there, and we're right across the lot. Ben Jacobs doing some great work. Alex Crook has joined Simon and myself in studio. And of course, Alex, good afternoon. You're now going to be here till 9 o'clock at night or beyond. Looking forward to that. Obviously, Alex, the big one has gone down, and that's Alexander Isak. Whether it's 125 million, whether it's 130 million pounds, but he's at Liverpool's training ground, and he is getting his wish out of Newcastle and a big money signing for Liverpool. I mean, what are you hearing? Because a source at Newcastle has been telling me the deal is worth 130 million to us. That was our internal price. We signed another striker, so our conditions have been met.
Well, first and foremost, I got wind a week or so ago that this deal was distinctly possible. I know the vibe coming out of Newcastle, and particularly the people on the ground at St James's Park, when Isak released that bombshell statement accusing them of broken promises and trust was lost. The vibe then was that maybe they would dig in even more and make it even harder for him to get the move. And as I say, last weekend, I got wind that PIF, the public investment fund who bankroll Newcastle, the Saudi owners, were willing to do a deal, as you say, if certain criteria was hit. They needed two forwards of their own. They've got them now in Nick Voltemada, the record signing. Johan Wisser is up there undergoing a medical ahead of a £55 million move from Brentford. That's quite a lot more than Newcastle ideally wanted to pay to get that deal done. And then we got confirmation last night that a fee had been agreed. As you say, Newcastle sources are saying it's a deal worth 130 million. Liverpool sources saying it's a British record, 125 million pounds. All in, no add-ons, so it's a guaranteed 125 million. I think the discrepancy comes because of a £5 million loyalty payment that Alexander Isak has effectively written off. That's why Newcastle can say it's a £130 million deal. Liverpool will say it's a British record fee. Either way, I still think in an ideal scenario, Eddie Howe would have wanted to keep the player as opposed to cash in. This is a decision that's been made very much by the Saudi owners.
Alexander himself might have been stretching it a bit, Simon, looking for a loyalty payment.
Well, loyalty payments are ridiculous in and of themselves, aren't they? You can get a loyalty payment for staying for a season. So they are a misrepresented position. Look, we don't know. I mean, we were trying to work. I thought it was a loyalty payment. A solidarity payment doesn't make any sense to me because ultimately, who would that be to, and on what basis? You do get educational monies paid down to development football clubs, but if it's a £5 million loyalty payment, it's actually worth more than that because they'd have had to pay 15% national insurance contribution on top of that to the player. So it's actually 131 million quid Newcastle have got.
Either way, it's an incredible deal at the end of an unbelievable window. Yeah. It's almost like two or three windows rolled into one for Liverpool when you think they started the summer by breaking the British record for Florian Wirtz. Then they hijacked Ekitike from under Newcastle's noses. He started really well in the Premier League. The Anfield crowd, I was there yesterday, was singing his name. And now they've got the one they really wanted. They're still trying for Mark Gahey as well. I was told this morning they're less optimistic that Crystal Palace will let him out. I think on the back of what Oliver Glasner said after the win at Villa last night, live on talkSPORT, I've told the chairman we can't afford to lose Gahey. That's pretty strong for a manager who I think's got a lot of power in this situation because he's just won the FA Cup. He's got a European campaign. He's lost Eberici Eze anyway. But is there an argument, Simon, that the two players who have forced a move this summer, Johan Wisser and Alexander Isak, by downing tools, effectively going on strike, have got their way? Mark Gahey has acted much more admirably. He's still been playing for Palace. He scored for Palace, and he looks like he might be the one to miss out.
Well, first of all, I don't think he will miss out. I think he'll go to Liverpool. And second of all, his contractual situation is very different to that of Visser's and Alexander Isak's. He can sit there and know in a year's time he's going to go on a free. And so the dynamics are very different for him. So there's an element of perhaps he's prepared, albeit it's Liverpool and everyone else must go to Liverpool. But the fact is that if he were to leave Palace in a year's time, every commercial benefit that was to be available on the table would go to him because there'd be no transfer fee. It'd all land in his salary, and he'd be a very significant boy. That's why he perhaps is a little bit more relaxed. Alongside his personality may be different, but I don't think you can. I think we mustn't get into the territory of telling people that have done what they should be doing as a blueprint for suggesting that people that, that's a good thing to know. You do what you should do. You've got a contract. You should do it.
Yeah. This has been a window of goalkeepers. Where are we at with Manchester United?
Well, 2 weeks ago, the brief coming out of Old Trafford was that the goalkeeping position wasn't one of priority. Then you see Altay Bayindir chucking the ball in the back of the net against Arsenal. Andre Onana doing the same at Grimsby in the League Cup, and I think that focused minds at Old Trafford. This story, actually, I first reported on way back on July the 17th that Seny Lammers, a young Belgian under-21 international, was a target for Manchester United. He's on a plane to Manchester as we speak. An £18 million fee plus add-ons has been agreed. He's going to sign a 5-year contract. Does leave Emi Martinez in a little bit of a pickle because United were exploring a possible move for him yesterday. He was left out, I think, by an angry Unai Emery from Villa's game last night. So where does that leave Emi Martinez? The Saudi window is still open. So is the Turkish window. Galatasaray have missed out on Ederson. Looks like he's off to Fenerbahce from Manchester City. So there are potential options. At the moment, I think it's difficult to see a way back for Martinez at Villa.
And Donnarumma, it would appear, heading to Manchester City.
Yeah, this is dependent on the Ederson deal getting over the line. €14 million fee agreed, as I understand it, between Fenerbahce and Manchester City, but obviously he's still got to sign on the dotted line. I think there's still negotiations with Paris Saint-Germain over their €40 million asking price. And this is a deal I don't think many of us would have predicted at the start of the window, certainly not when Donnarumma was playing such a massive part in PSG winning the Champions League. And a lot of people don't really see the fit. Donnarumma, who isn't the best with a ball at his feet, and that's what Pep Guardiola demands from his goalkeepers. That's one of the reasons they've gone for James Trafford. But maybe Manchester City just see a market opportunity to sign probably the best goalkeeper in the world over the last 6 months.
Yeah. Simon, we have 6.5 hours left. It's been a record spend. Over 2.7 billion. Does that even surprise yourself?
Well, I was saying to Alex this morning, it'll be interesting to analyse what the spend was, because a couple of years ago, the biggest spend was about 2.3 billion. Everyone made a dog and pony show about that. Let's have a see how much of this money is circular, because there's a lot of money being spent. There's also a lot of money being recouped. So it'd be interesting to see what the net spend was against the transfer window of 2023 when it was 2.3 billion, and what the net spend's going to be against the 3 billion that's probably going to be spent in this transfer window, because there's so much money going around in a circle. So many clubs are selling lots of players, and the headline, I mean, Liverpool are going to spend 450 million. They're probably, all told, going to get something in the region of about 200 or 300 million back in, with payments that have already done on certain players. I suspect, and I touch this subject very gently, with insurance payments that might have been paid out for the tragedy. And so you look at that and say, well, Liverpool spent 450 million quid, but over 2 seasons, net spend of 150 million quid isn't really that much. No. It's big noise right now because it's being spent in one window. But last year, they spent nothing.
Yeah. You wonder what Jurgen Klopp is thinking at this time, don't you, Alex?
Well, it's ironic, actually, because if you go back to this time last summer, Richard Hughes had just come in as sporting director. Michael Edwards had just returned to the FSG group as their sort of overlord. And Liverpool fans were very unhappy about a lack of activity. It was the same in the January transfer window. They've gone on and won the Premier League title. They've kept their powder dry. And as I said, they've had a magnificent summer, albeit against a backdrop of the Jota tragedy. But it's very hard to make a case, I think, for anybody wresting the title from Liverpool now. They're not even playing that well at this moment in time. They've won 3 from 3. Just on Mark Gay, by the way, maybe Simon could be proved right after all. Not official yet. I'm going to have to do some more digging. But I have just had a message suggesting that maybe Gay could be heading to Liverpool this afternoon after all.
Oh. Off the back of Alexander Isak, Mr. Jordan, first with the news as always. So
I need a wash now.
It's kind of odds on that we are looking at breaking through the £3 billion barrier in this window. We'll keep across the lot from now on in, and of course now on in is when it really starts happening. Alex you'll be on talkSPORT throughout the afternoon, mate, and then 6:30 we're right through the 7 o'clock deadline, of course, and beyond. I'll be in the hot seat till 9 o'clock later tonight, and you will not miss a trick with myself, Mr. Crook, and a man called Danny Murphy. It's 12:30.
A deadline day for the ages looms ahead of us, and we've got all the latest right here throughout the day. But the main event, of course, is the sulking, striking Swede. Isak is getting his Liverpool move after all, it looks like. Ali McCoist does have a warning, though, based on the incredible tantrums that have been thrown all summer.
I just think it's been really, he's handled it really, really poor. And I'd ask you the question, Jeff, if he has 2 great years and he's signed a 5-year contract and Real Madrid come in for him, he could probably do the exact same thing, mate.
Plus, with Donnarumma expected to become a Man City player today, a penny for the thoughts of James Trafford. Stuart Pearce has this advice for the 22-year-old.
If I was advising him, I would say, look, at the age you are at the moment, see this as a positive if Donnarumma comes in. You've got competition, so you've got to up your game, and also you've got 2 great role models that have been around the block to learn from.
To Anfield now, where a game that threatened to be a stalemate was transfigured when Szoboszlai slotted home an absolute rocket. For Arsenal, no win at Anfield since Arteta himself was in the midfield. And Alan Pardew says he expected more from Victor Gyökeres.
There was times he had the march and didn't get past the centre backs, and it's a concern, I think, whether this kid is going to have to step up and be this number 9 that Arsenal have been waiting for 3 years.
As always, all your latest is at talksport.com.
It's a busy deadline day, and it's far from over. 7 o'clock, the deadline this evening. Alexander Isak, 125 million. It's happened, and he will go from Newcastle United to Liverpool. Johan Wissa is heading up to the northeastern, if he hasn't got there already. He's getting his way out of Brentford and heading to Newcastle United. Elsewhere, Manchester United are getting themselves a young goalkeeper, not the one I thought they were going to get, Emi Martinez from Aston Villa, it would seem. That's not going to happen. And one we didn't think would happen, or certainly Crystal Palace boss Oliver Glasner hoped wouldn't happen, seems now likely to happen. Mark Gahey could well end up a Liverpool player inside 7 o'clock tonight if he gets his way out of Crystal Palace. He has not been agitating, though, as the others have been. Alexander Isak has wanted out of Newcastle. Johan Wissa has wanted out of Brentford and have made that quite public. Our next guest, who joins us this lunchtime, sports lawyer Mo Pasricha, joins us live in studio. Mo, good to speak to you. Obviously, Simon is across these matters, having done what he's done in his life and having owned a football club. But what tools and ammunition does a club really have when a player tries to effectively get his way?
So, thanks for having me on. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you.
Clubs have, they've got a legally binding contract. They know exactly where the position stands. I think the problem is lots of conversations have probably happened before and after that contract has been signed. And whilst you have all the excitement when a player signs a brand new contract that lots of players are potentially doing today, they won't always build in the ability for them to have a conversation should something happen in the future, unless you've got specific clauses, release clauses, etc., that would come into play. So clubs do have protection. They've got a contract with their player. If the club decides that they're going to put the player aside for any reason because they're causing an issue with the squad, then that's their prerogative.
Yeah. I mean, the noises coming out of Isak throughout the saga, Mo, were that I don't want to be reintegrated to the Newcastle squad. I don't want to be training with them again. I've made up my mind. Promises were broken and I want out. And it appears from what we know, Newcastle United did not at any time fine Alexander Isak during this saga. And that, I think, has surprised many Newcastle fans who have said, well, come on, if you're not going to hit me in the pocket for something like this, then when are you?
I think the answer is, I'm probably lifting the hood on similar situations that I've dealt with before, and Simon probably has some thoughts on this too, but there's a delicate balance there between the club, the player, the agent, whether the agent's got any other players at that club too, sometimes has a factor, any other ongoing conversations. With Alexander Isak, I think there was probably a realization many weeks ago that we're going to end up in the situation that we are today. That's my personal view looking at it.
Yeah.
And whether you go down the route of finding a player that's going to end up leaving you anyway, or getting into a position where you can either try and talk him round, try and dissuade him once the season starts. We are kind of where we are 3 games into the Premier League, and there's still a desire for him to move. So I think there's going to be an interesting conversation happening probably at the clubs about, what can we do about this in the future?
Oh, exactly. Because something one of your many great phrases is concentrating the mind, and you think a bit of that wouldn't have been a miss here.
The new shtick is, whether it's the player or his mouthpiece, suggesting that what they understood and conversations that they understood. Now, Newcastle were probably well versed with the fact that the player wanted to leave. What the player would like you to believe, and his agent would like you to believe, that not only were they well versed, they were prepared to allow him to leave on everyone else's terms besides theirs. And therein lies the difference. Now, the fundamental thing for me is, if I'm an owner or a representative of a football club in a position of influence, and I'm sat with an agent and I'm giving them some implicit understanding, I'd expect that agent to say, well, I'd like a Tomlin note, or I'd like some degree of understanding. It's an appendage, it's an addendum to the existing contract, that we've got an understanding that at some point, if Liverpool were to come in for Alexander Isak, you're going to be reasonable in your behaviour.
Yeah.
They don't have that.
Right.
Because those conversations don't happen. The conversation that happens is Alexander Isak, his agent go, we want to go to Liverpool. And Newcastle go, we acknowledge your player's wishes. That is not the same as we give you an implicit understanding that he can go to Liverpool on under any terms besides ours.
Exactly. I mean, Mo, are we really saying that agents and players are really going off promises and handshakes?
Absolutely. I think
they are.
I think, but also going back to Simon's point, it's about what their interpretation of conversations are.
It's a deliberate misinterpretation, is my point. And I'm not giving them any credence in this. They're not going off handshakes, because they'll be the first people to turn around and go, that's my contract, pay it, right? So they're not going off that. What they're doing is they're deliberately misrepresenting it to put out the optics to those that are listening and paying attention to the situation, which is predominantly the media and the fans. It's not us. We were the ones that had an understanding. I don't believe it. I think it's a lie. I think it's a complete misrepresentation of the circumstances.
I rarely ever see those kind of conversations that happen about, oh, if a club comes in for us at this level, could you let me go? Like, if those conversations are to be there, they are contracted. And if you have, we've seen lots of times before, especially this window, we've worked on a number of contracts where we have release clauses in there, and they will say, if X club comes in, there is a conversation that can be had.
Exactly. Yeah. At one stage, it looked pretty much certain, pretty much nailed on, that Morgan Gibbs-White was going to go to Tottenham from Nottingham Forest. They thought they'd activated his £60 million release clause. And yet it didn't happen. This was Gibbs-White on why he stayed.
Every footballer has personal goals and personal ambitions that they want to achieve. Mine's winning trophies, playing in the World Cup, playing in the Euros, playing Champions League football. Just to be able to reach the maximum that I'm able to reach. But obviously in the summer, everybody's seen what was going on and whatever. But away from that, it was a really difficult period for me and my fiancée. Obviously having my second child, but there was a few complications with all of that. And I believed in being professional, showing up every day and letting everything else take care of what it needs to do. I'm a firm believer of everything happens for a reason. and I'm delighted with my decision. More than happy. I think my fiance is even more happy because she didn't get to carry on with all the stress.
Well, sports lawyer Mo Pasricha is in studio with myself and Simon. Forrest said that approach, Mo, was illegal, and went for it with Tottenham. And at the end of the day, they won it. Does this one baffle you somewhat?
Not really. I think the reality of the situation is, agent of the player went out, knew what the release condition was. There was definitely conversations that happened, because that's how these transfers happen. They don't start with clubs making inquiries in that way. They happen with conversations between agents and other agents and representative clubs. Someone has said to someone exactly what that condition of what it says in the clause of the contract, and it's really annoyed Nottingham Forest. And Nottingham Forest has said, we're going to make an issue out of it, and they'll apply all kinds of pressure to force a situation. They could have potentially threatened him with legal proceedings. I think they did, or there were some statements that came out around that. I'm assuming he himself got lots of legal letters. I'm assuming his agent got lots of legal letters. And Nottingham Forest probably tried their utmost to kind of force that position upon him.
I see. As we come to the end of this part, Mo, would I be right in thinking the Gibbs-White situation apart, players have all the power these days, don't they? Isak's demonstrated that. Wisak has demonstrated. Simon's shaking his head, and I thought he might. But they have so much power now. They virtually can determine where they end up. Gibbs-White didn't, but others can.
I think the answer is, you've got players that will carry a certain profile and momentum with their club, and when they kind of make that decision to say, I want to go, I want to move, it naturally has an impact somewhere. There is a breakdown of a relationship somewhere, and it's down to, they can look to force themselves through. We've seen clubs stick by their position. In my experience, when players decide and that relationship is broken down, more often than not, we do see a move. And it's an acceptance, and time is that acceptance.
It's about the construct of the move. I mean, the fact of the matter is that a club like Newcastle have the strength, the financial wherewithal to be able to sit this player down if they wanted to. But the Saudis, for whatever reason, are being very compliant with the ownership of this football club. They're not challenging anything. They're not pushing PSR. They're not using strategic breaches like Aston Villa and Chelsea have done. They're playing very differently than you would have expected them to. We've seen players like Ronaldo, when United had about enough of him and exited him. And we've seen players in other situations that have been dealt with by the football club. Now, the circumstance is that when you get to a point where you've got a player under contract, he will go, but he won't go under the auspice of his terms.
Right.
If Newcastle haven't got... If Liverpool could have got over 110 million quid, they'd have been very happy, but they didn't. So Newcastle's position, besides all the hysteria in the media, was they got another 15 million quid out of the deal. And it might not have been the ideal scenario, but nothing lasts forever. And they weren't going to keep Alexander Isak forever. And certain football clubs at certain stages are going to have challenges. But it's not right to say that all the power lies with the players. A significant proportion.
A significant amount of it. You expect to be busy, Mo, this afternoon? Is your phone going to be buzzing?
It already has. As I was outside the studio. Busy. Obviously interesting deadline time frame for 7 p.m. Tonight, and then 11 o'clock in Scotland and Spain. So not really quite sure.
7 o'clock for workflow patterns, apparently.
Yes. Doesn't really seem to apply to Scotland, though, so we're taking the same approach with the Scottish clubs.
We're very different up there as to when we work and don't work. Mo, thank you very much indeed. Mo Pasricha, of course, a very clued-up sports lawyer, with us live this lunchtime. The deadline itself, remember, earlier than usual, 7 p.m, but big players getting big moves. We're at 1:45. going on. Our biggest competition today is now live, and we're giving you the chance to win Oasis tickets plus a whopping 25 grand. 2 lucky winners, not one but 2, will win a pair of Oasis tickets when they return to Wembley on the 27th of September. That's not all. Alongside the tickets, we're giving you the chance to win a whopping £25,000. For all the details, how to enter this amazing competition, have a listen.
18 plus, UK excluding Northern Ireland. For a chance to win, text the word OASIS to 83338 and you're in the draw. Text costs £2 plus 1 standard network rate message. You must have the bill payer's permission. Or you can enter for free by calling 0330 880 338. All entries must be received by the 19th of September at 9 a.m. This is a talkSPORT limited promotion run on talkSPORT, Talk and Virgin Radio UK stations. Full terms and conditions at talksport.com.
Don't think the Gallagher brothers will be too happy with that result at Brighton yesterday. That's by the by. Alex Crook has stopped by on this transfer deadline day and joined Simon and myself the remaining minutes as we pop up to 1 o'clock. Nicholas Jackson, we have the latest, do we?
We do. This is another saga in a summer of soap operas because, of course, he jetted out to Bayern Munich, touched down on Saturday morning to complete what he thought would be a loan deal to the German Giants. Then Liam Delap suffers a hamstring injury in Chelsea's win over Fulham. Chelsea pull the plug on the loan deal. Jackson initially refused to leave Bavaria. He was so desperate to get this deal over the line. He was hauled up in Germany with his agent, Ali Barrett. Then we were told that Chelsea had definitely pulled the plug and Bayern had accepted this deal was not going to happen between then and 7 o'clock tonight when the window closes. Now we're hearing it's very much back on. In fact, we broke this exclusively, myself and Ben Jacobs, a couple of hours ago, that talks were back underway. And I'm told now this is close. It would be a loan deal initially, as per the original agreement. I think what will be interesting here is, will it be an option, as it was before, of 65 million euros, or will Chelsea insist on an obligation to make this more permanent? Either way, looks like Nicholas Jackson is going to get his move after all. And I guess this is taking Peter Odemwingie to a whole new level by just refusing to leave Germany until the deal was done.
Peter Odemwingie. Good afternoon, Peter. A lot of Tottenham fans coming to me between now and 7 o'clock. Anything?
Well, I think they need a forward because there's a suggestion that Dominic Solanke's injury is going to keep him out for longer than anticipated. He wasn't part of the squad as they lost against Bournemouth at the weekend. Richarlison was a little bit back in his old ways, having started the season well. I thought he sulked a little bit through that game when it started to go against him. Randall Kolo Muani, a player that Spurs have shown interest in the past. My understanding is that talks between the two clubs are ongoing over a potential loan deal, maybe with an obligation to buy. This is quite a Daniel Levy deal to do on the final day of a window. It does remind me a little bit of when they signed Matthias Tell in January.
Okay. I'm hearing it. I don't know if I can throw this at you, Alex, but listen, if you're on it, you'll be able to tell us more about it. We know Aston Villa striking a loan deal for Jadon Sancho. Any truth in a similar type deal for Harvey Elliott?
Yes, I think the hold up on this one is the amount of money that Liverpool want in terms of an obligation. They've been quoting interested parties, RB Leipzig among them, more than £40 million all summer. I think Villa are trying to push it closer to £35 million. I think this would be a good signing for Aston Villa, and they need it. You look at Unai Emery's body language at the start of this season. He got the hump, didn't he, around Sam Matterface after a game recently. He was very spiky with the television interviewer yesterday when he was pressed on Emi Martinez. They've lost Jacob Ramsey. Martinez obviously didn't want to play last night, wasn't in the right frame of mind anyway. So they need some signings over the line. And Harvey Elliott, brilliant for England at the Under-21 European Championships, might just cheer up Unai Emery on this deadline.
Absolutely. So a whole bunch of things set to trigger between now and 7.
It's busy.
It is busy. Simon, if you're Oliver Glasner and if Mark Gahey, as we now expect, am I right, joins Liverpool, after what he said last night publicly, after the win, of course, that they secured themselves at Aston Villa, what's your thought? Will Herr Glasner be thinking, now I'm not sure?
Oh, I think there's a distinct possibility he probably thinks that already. I mean, I think there's a reasonable expectation last summer, as I've mentioned, that he was going to get backed. He didn't. He took it on the chin, knew he was there for 5 minutes and felt that ultimately I've been given an opportunity in the Premier League. But he's now won the FA Cup. He's now been in Europe. His stock is very high. And he's got a year left on his contract. And I think it's reasonable to expect him to have expected to have had some significant net spend over and above what he's being, or gross spend, rather than a benefit in kind from selling people like Eberechi. I would have expected him to have wanted to supplement that playing squad, not to have had it depleted. So I think you'll find that if Palace the message I took from what he said yesterday was not a call to action about what's happening today. It was a call to action what was happening earlier on in the summer, which was you need to get me replacements in, because if these players are going to go, you need to have got me replacements. And they may well pull replacements out of their backsides in the next 6 or 7 hours. But the fact is I don't think you'll see Glasner as a Crystal Palace manager this time next year.
Okay, 6 hours to the window closes.
He's a very good manager.
Do you think he'll look down to the south coast at Bournemouth? Because Andoni Iraola, like Glasner, was one of the managers linked with Tottenham.
Yeah.
He's been backed by Bill Foley. I think since Bill Foley came into the football club, he's spent the best part of £400 million.
Yeah.
So I think Glasner's right to be frustrated.
Well, it goes to, dare I say it, some of the things that Tex had talked about when he came in the studio, about the lack of ambition and the preparedness to accept just staying in the division. Palace could have looked forward.
Yes.
I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just simply saying that if you win an FA Cup with a manager, you go into Europe, you've got a team that's really functioning on a high level now. What are you going to do with this manager? Are you going to give him nothing? If you give him nothing, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen? You're going to lose him.
Alex and I will be back. Alex will be back throughout the afternoon on talkSPORT. You want to throw something at me just
very
before
quickly,
you go?
and this could be quite important as the day goes on. I'm told that Igor, the centre-back from Brighton, very likely now to join Crystal Palace. I think he's been having a medical. That will be a loan deal, no option on that one. Matt O'Reilly also off to Marseille on loan. Again, no option on that deal. But if Palace get Igor and they're looking for another central defender as well, then that again would potentially pave the way for Mark Gay to join Liverpool. So the dominoes are starting to fall into place.
They are indeed. Alex and myself will be back, and from 6:30 we'll see it through the 7 o'clock hour alongside Danny Murphy. You don't want to miss it. It's hotting up, but we knew it would. It's transfer deadline day, and we are live on talkSPORT.